WeatherTech SportsCar Championship on IMSA Radio.
A very, very warm welcome to a slightly overcast but exceptionally busy Sebring International Raceway for the second event of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship for 2022. The formalities on the grid have been completed. Thanks, Ty and the rest of the IMSA radio team. We had that philosophical discussion just a few moments ago as to whether the cars and the racetrack even existed, because we couldn't see them at all. A huge crowd along the pit lane and on the starting grid, mingling with the stars and cars of the 2022 IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. This is a truly international event. Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia, Ricky Taylor and Bill Auberlen from the USA. Bill Auberlen starting his 500th race for BMW here today. We're in Central Florida in the Highlands region of the Heartland region of the state, with a 3.75 mile circuit with 17 corners, and there's a little bit of something for everyone here. The fast sweepers slowing down to the corner number 7 at the hairpin, shortened up many years ago for safety, but still a real challenge down there. And then through the back of the circuit with the airfield, still an active airfield on the driver's left as they swing down through the Jean de Bienne and Bishop Benz towards Le Mans corner, down the Ullman straight, down towards turn number 17, Sunset Bend. That tells you that it's going straight west, and the drivers will have the sun in their eyes as the sunset tonight is just around 7:30. It is round about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity 90% at the moment, air temperature 24 degrees in the Celsius scale, trap temperature pretty much the same. It was so humid this morning that we had to have the windscreen wipers on even though there was no rain. We have got a chance of showers coming through this afternoon. That may well play out. John Hinoff and Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. It's Shea Adam and Joe Bradley in the pit lane. Let's check in with Shea first of all for GTD, one of 5 classes here this weekend. Shea?
We've got a lot of cars in this field, and it is mixed to take the green flag, meaning the GTD Pro and GTD are together. Well, who does this affect the most? Zachary Robichon qualified 3rd overall and on the GTD pole. They are the defending champions right now because they won the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And 3 of their 3 drivers were victorious in Sebring over the last 2 years.
Joe Bradley has the stories from LMP3, where Gar Robinson and Jared Andretti battled out for pole position for Riley and Andretti Motorsports.
Well, further down the grid, just slightly, is the number 6 Milner Motorsport America car. It's a blue and white livery car. Keep an eye out for that. One of the drivers, Alec Udell, the deal to come together, only came together this week. He's the 2019 European GT4 champion and has had a very on and off past few years. And he's kind of, I'm not going to say come out of retirement, but he's certainly come out of the cupboard and he's here racing. He's hardly done any laps around Sebring, so the most laps he's going to do will be after his first stint. Incredible story.
Yeah, it is an incredible story, Joe. And yeah, he was here just coaching this week. He was coaching Efren Castro in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. It took place on Thursday, 2 races. Efren Castro, one of his drivers for Kelly Moss team, he won the Pro-Am class. Well, actually, won it both days, but he was DQ'd from one of them because of a technical problem. But it took so much out of Efren. He knew he was going to be struggling to complete a 12-hour race here as well. So he declined that drive, and he offered up the opportunity to Alec Udell. It's a tremendous story, as you say, Joe. He's never driven an LMP3 car before. He's in at the deep end.
There are 8 LMP2 cars. Another good entry for the second prototype class, holding on to most of our entries from the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And Ben Keating has claimed pole position for BR1 Matheson Motorsport. Ben's one of 21 drivers doing double duty this weekend. He was on pole position yesterday for the FIA World Endurance Championship, but in a very different car indeed, an Aston Martin in GTE Arm. He had a decent result yesterday. He'll be looking to repeat that feat today. And at the front of the field, the winner should come from the 7 DPI shit. Adam?
Yes, it should. And what's the DPI that we need to keep our eyes on right now? Well, everyone's looking at the Cadillacs in the front row. I'm watching Meyershank Racing. They won the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. They missed the second practice session with an engine issue. They had to replace the engine. They've got more tires than anyone else in that class.
Porsche keys to the race, Jeremy. It's all about staying on the lead lap here, getting to the sunset time and into the darkness. You've got to have a quick car in the darkness hours here at Sebring.
You do, and that's what the teams have been working for. That practice session on Thursday night, absolutely critical, and that's, of course, the session that the number 99, hard point Porsche missed the majority of due to the crash. But that was a critical session. They're setting up their cars for the night time, but conditions are so different today. It's so much more humid, and this is going to be a real battle for the drivers. It's going to be 90 degrees and 90% humidity this afternoon. Wow, that's going to be hard work.
There is a bit of overcast at the moment, which is giving the drivers a wee bit of respite. We haven't got the full energy of the sun on the cars, or indeed on the track surface. Traffic's always going to be an issue here. There was a huge incident yesterday in the FIA WEC when there was, as Toyota described it, a misunderstanding between Jose Maria Lopez and Julian Andlauer in the Porsche, which led eventually to Jose Maria Lopez driving his car at almost unabated speed into turn 14-15 area and flipping the car on its roof. So traffic's always going to be something to keep an eye on, as well as, well, not just on the track, but in the pits, Jeremy. No mistakes is a Porsche key to the race. We've said it before. It's true here as well.
Yeah, and look, and this heat and humidity, all the crew guys, they're all wearing, at least triple layer Nomex. They've got all sorts of, a lot of equipment to carry around. It's going to be really tough for the crew guys as well. That's not a factor that should not be overlooked.
It will be a split start here. We have two safety cars out at the moment. And as I say that, are we just starting to form up? No, we've got the prototypes at the front of the field. If you're watching along on IMSA.com, and the timing and scoring provided for us by our friends at Alcamel, the DPIs of the grey-silver notation, blue for LMP2, orange for LMP3, red for GTD Pro, but they are mixed in with the greens of GTD. They are the same cars. It is the drivers that determine which category you're in. And we've got drama. We've got drama on the second warm-up lap, and one of the favourites in LMP3 has gone behind the wall. LMP3, I think, Shea, was it?
Yeah, you're right. It's Jared Andretti, who very nearly took the pole position from Gar Robinson yesterday in the qualifying session that had us all on our toes. That car had the engine cover off. There was work going on to it on the grid, but they managed to get it fired up. It went out and did that first pace lap, now straight back behind the wall. This car will not take the start of the race when it's supposed to.
At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us. Lots of you here tuned in via our local radio syndications, and thanks again to our local radio partners for making WWOJ Best Country 99.1 FM and 7:30 AM and 95.3 FM for News Talk available to our race broadcast around the world on RS2, the home of IMSA Radio at imsaradio.com, with all of the archive there to download. And if you're in a territory that does not have a network TV deal, then if you hit the live video button, you'll get the world TV field. Here in the US, we've got Sirius XM 206 online as well for this race, as we have for all of the IMSA Championship, IMSA WeatherTech Championship races throughout the 2022 season again. And as far as TV coverage here in the States, USA is where you will find the coverage today on your telly box. 12 hours on the clock, Jeremy. This is another race where certainly at the front of the field, any one of the seven could win. There's a good spread of cars in LMP2 and LMP3. And GTD Pro, which was such a hit at Daytona, well, that's going to be another dogfight here as well.
Yeah, will that come down to the last lap as well, like it did at Daytona? Well, what a battle that was. There's no reason to think it wouldn't do. But yeah, there is a split start here then. So the prototypes will start out front and then all GTD cars behind that. And one of the reasons for that is the fact that the non-pro drivers in LMP3 are probably, well, are not as quick as many of the GTD cars. So rather than having all packed up at the start, at least this way with a split start, the GTD cars will start probably 10 or 15 seconds behind the LMP3, so that by the time the GTD3 leaders catch up with the tail end of the field in LMP3, at least a little bit more spread out, shouldn't be quite so hectic. But of course, after full course cautions, once the race gets going, assuming there are some, and there will be, then they are all intermingled, and that makes it really tricky.
It is Sebastian Bourdais for the 01 Cadillac, the black car with the white hindquarters on the front row, on pole position, Whelen Engineering, Primo Durrani in the red and white Cadillac. Then it's Konica Minolta with Ricky Taylor and Cadillac with Alex Lynn. They go across the line. The pole sitter got a decent jump there. And the 70th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring is under green flag conditions. The top prototype streamed through turn 1 over the bumps, slightly overcast conditions, crowds lining the barriers both sides of the circuit as they go past the palm tree compound into the carousel for the first time. A little bit of a lock-up further back from one of the LMP3s, but no harm, no foul, down towards the hairpin at the first time of asking as the GT field comes through. Daniel Serra for Risi and Mirko Bortolotti for Lamborghini and TR3 Racing. They get the green flag. And Risi Competizione in the Pennzoil red and yellow Ferrari goes into the first corner. He holds his position as well. The bright green Mirko Bortolotti driven TR3 Lamborghini ahead of the first of the new BMWs. Then it's Wright Motorsport in the light blue Porsche. Coming up the inside, the Corvette C8R Corvette with 20 brake horsepower more thanks to a little larger restrictor. That big engine, the big V8 engine behind the drivers these days, of course. That breathing a little easier and making a little more power.
Nice clean start there, but there's a fair bit of shuffling around as the GTD cars came across the line there. You're supposed not to pull out of your column before you get to the start-finish line. So I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that. Hopefully there won't be any penalties. There's a slight mistake there by the second place car, and that allows it was Mike Rockefeller, a tremendous start by Mike Rockefeller to sneak past there. What's happened to Bourdais on that first lap?
Coming through.
Dropped almost to the back of the pack in DPI.
That's he's into the pits, Jeremy.
Yeah.
That is the Mustang. That is the 01 Cadillac. It is Bourdais into the pit lane, so the pole-sitting Cadillac has given up its position. He got a good enough start. Whilst we were watching the GT, something has gone wrong, and it comes to a halt next to Shea Adam at the Cadillac Racing 01 pitch, eh?
The engine is off on this car, John. They're taking the engine cover off, put it up on the air jacks. I'm just looking around it. I don't see any damage. Doors closed. Let's see. Oh no, they're plugging in the computer now. So they're not satisfied with whatever fix they thought they got. Yep, engine cover off. No damage to the outside. I think this is something motor related. Also into the pit lane, Gilbert Cawthorpe, Mercedes, the number 32.
So two of the major challengers in the top two prototype classes. Andretti Autosport behind the wall and the Cadillac 01 pole sitter. 32 penalty. Drive through for changing positions on the grid.
Changing tyres on the grid.
Changing tyres on the grid, excuse me. So that will be a drive-through penalty. Meantime, it looks axle related, maybe gearbox related, Shane. They were looking at the right rear and now they're spinning the tyres to see if they've got connectivity, I think, with the gearbox and the transmission.
Yeah, and there's a clunking, John, so I think it is gearbox. It does not sound good as they're going through on the passenger side door. Mechanic just shrugged his shoulders as if to say, I don't know what. They dropped the car off the air jack, so bear with me a second. Trying to find out if they're going behind the wall or if they're going to send him back out on track. The only thing that I could see, because everything looked as exactly where it should be on the 01 Cadillac Racing entry, in the rear. It didn't look like there was broken suspension or anything, so my guess would be gearbox. But the thing that they're trying to figure out is if this will fix itself or if they need to take it behind the wall to fix it. They're going to do a splash of fuel, which makes me think that they're going back to the garage. Yeah, so that was strange. The car is turned off. Clearly, Seb just let out the clutch and it rolled forward ever so slightly as if to stall. Now the engine is refired, splash of fuel. Seb tried to go. There we go. He puts it into first gear. And is he going back out of the pit lane? Yes, yes, he is.
So whatever that was has been cleared. Problem at
Wilsey.
turn 1 for Lance Wilsey in the Stars and Stripes 33 LMP2 off the track. He's regained the right part of the racing circuit as back into the fray. Sebastian Bourdais, did he lose the lead lap there, Jeremy? He must have, surely.
Yeah, no, he did, absolutely did, yes. So he's already 1 lap down to the field, and what a disaster that is for Cadillac Racing. Well, it's not a disaster. If the car is okay, you should be able to make 1 lap back during this race with the very different rule sets, of course, in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship compared to the World Endurance Championship that was run yesterday in terms of when the pits are closed and when you can make lot more strategic options is basically what it boils down to in order to get yourself back into contention in IMSA than there is in WEC. So they're now going to just keep their heads about them. If the car is okay, Sebastian will push on now, and then they will work on the strategies to try and get back onto the lead lap.
So that trip down the pit lane that Shea mentioned for Gilbert Korthoff was their drive-through for changing tyres on the grid. So that is why the 32 Mercedes came down the pit lane, just to level that one up for you. So Pipo Derani in the lead by about 1.1 seconds from Ricky Taylor. Cadillac Acura with Tom Blomqvist in 3rd position. Let's go back to Shea for an update on that Cadillac transmission issue.
Many thanks to Peter Barron, who actually got off the box to tell me it's a downshifting issue that they were having in the first lap. But they plugged the computer and they reset a couple things. They're going to see if it's any better.
Yeah, reinstall the previous version. Take out all the updates. 23 Heart of Racing, Aston with a problem as well, going slowly through Bishop Bend and down to Jean de Bian-Benz. He's been passed like he was chained to a post there, but getting back up to speed. So has that number 23 car just had a spin, or was it something more serious? Because for Alex Riberas, he was 4th in the GTD Pro category, but he's been passed by some GTD cars that have gone by. And he's coming down to turn 17 now, cuts into the wall, staying to the right-hand side. I think he might be coming into the pits. He's slowing down, he stays to the right. Yeah, that car's coming in. The Aston number 23 coming in. Drama in the first 8 minutes with 3 favourites in class, 3 definite contenders, all having issues. 23 Aston Martin and the Heart of Racing, the latest to have a problem and hit the pit lane for an unscheduled stop. Our pit lane reporters are there.
This is an unscheduled stop, and the disturbing thing is that they don't have tires ready. They're taking the hood off the car, the bonnet, if you will, for those English listeners out there. They've got a long screwdriver for each side. They're checking in the engine bay, seeing if any hoses are loose. They think a hose might have come loose, but they're not actually seeing any that are off at all. That would explain why he was going slowly. Maybe he wasn't getting the sort of boost that he needed. No turbo. But they're not actually tightening anything, because when they got in there, yeah, the hands just went up to say, it's not what we thought it was. Not a good sign, though, for the Heart of Racing.
No, they had no look at Daytona either.
No, indeed not.
The defending series champions in they won the Michelin Endurance Cup in the last year.
If you weren't with us yesterday for our WEC coverage over on RS1, there was all kinds of weather issues which actually shortened the race up considerably, and the track then washed clean overnight. So we are re-rubbering the track up. Cars at the front of the field running on Michelin rubber, but not the same Michelin rubber as the confidential tyres of the hypercars yesterday. But already the current version of DPI, Jeremy Shaw, turning in some very quick laps indeed.
Yeah, 48.9 there for our race leader, Pipo Derani, as number 8 car is off the road. That's John Ferrano, one of the LMP2 entries.
Tower events, the Tangerine and black car. That's Rachel's camera down at turn number 7.
That lap time by Pipo Derani, already faster than the fastest lap in yesterday's WEC race, interestingly, but it's still nearly 3 seconds away from the lap record. The race lap record. You've got a touch there from Dennis Anderson, number 20 car, by the way, did John Ferrano down at out of the hairpin. There's been a 3-car battle there for that position in LMP2. Now down to one of them.
Indeed.
Oh, here's the right motorsports. Wow.
Another top entry is back into the pit lane.
This is front left tire coming off of the Right Motorsport Porsche. I don't see any signs of contact on that corner of the car, though. The bodywork is still fine. They're putting the nut back on as they continue to examine the left front wheel well. There's something wrapped around the hub of that part of the tire. Now they're taking off the left rear as well, trying to make sure. Zach is actually on the radio talking to the crew, so there must have been contact somewhere out around the circuit on the left side of this car, but the bodywork is completely undamaged, so bad luck for the Daytona winners.
Almost looks like he had run over something. There was a thin silver strand that was running all the way down the left-hand side of the car, and it had wrapped itself into the wheel hubs, both front and rear. By the way, the Cadillac 01 is back in again to the pit lane for Sebastian Bourdais. Now, I couldn't see it on the pit lane, so I wonder if it's gone behind the wall. It has gone behind the wall, confirmed. Debris on track, turn number 8. So just after the hairpin. Let's see if we can work out what happened. 16 car ran over the curb at driver's left, and then the car started moving around. Was it a loose wheel, maybe? Or something underneath there as well. Zachary Robichon is leaving in that light blue and black Right Motorsport Porsche. What an opening, Jeremy.
Jeepers, yeah.
What an opening. Problems for cars that have had no issues. He's having a bit of a wiggle, as if to say, I've got to find out whether this is actually going to go where I want to. The car was moving around. That incident between Dennis Anderson in the number 20 red and white prototype and the Tower Tangerine and black car, that was the number 8, is under review, and I think Dennis might get a call to the naughty step for that, Jeremy.
Quite likely. I don't think we really saw the beginning of the incident, but certainly he had been behind. There had been a 3-car train there, number 11, number 8, number 20 all in a train, and the 20 I think was trying to make a move on the number 8 car, and they both ended up spinning. But the number 8 car has that made it around? Yes, it has made it around.
Yes, it has.
Lost a lot of ground.
Yeah, the high-class racing car coming back around, and looked to me as though the right car was still not up to speed. Meantime, we talked to Till Bechtolsheimer before the start of the race. Joe Bradley had a word with Till. He's moved his way up to P6 in the gradient, number 66 car. That's in the class. Oh, and a problem. Wow. That's a big problem. That's an engine problem for the Andretti 36. So they're back out from behind the wall, but the right bank of cylinders blowing out white smoke. That is not good news. That tends to be oil and or water. Those engines are extremely robust. So have they just overfilled it?
Yeah, well, that was the car that came in at the end of the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they'd been working on the engine. Meantime,
it seems to be up to speed there. They're coming out of Tower Turn, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was just accelerating out of the slower corners. We'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, Right Motorsport into the pit lane, and we're hearing is going back to the paddock.
Right Motorsports?
Yeah, coming back to the paddock. When it comes into the pit lane this time around, it is not up to speed. This is very, very odd indeed. Past either side there, one by the struggle. The Andretti car is not up to speed either. So that may be coming back in. Shea's talking to the team. What's the problem, Shea?
They don't know yet, John, and that's why they've decided to take the Porsche back to the truck rather than try and diagnose it on the pit lane. One team that is continuing to work on the pit lane is the number 8 Tower Motorsport LMP2 machine. They came in, did a full service as normal, the car angled very dangerously into the wall because their pit box just before them, leading in, that is the 23 Heart of Racing work continuing there. They put a new tail on the Tower Motorsport LMP2. Joe?
I'm not sure how much notice the number 70 McLaren had for their crew, but it comes in and it looks like just one left rear tyre that's come off the car. So I'm just going to see if I can see what the problem is. Maybe it's sensors saying that tyre was losing pressure. Team now just inspecting the tyre. But you know what? That was a last-minute decision. The Inception Racing team, the number 70 McLaren, they weren't ready for it. They've sprung into action, literally on sight of the car on pit road.
It's Joe Bradley and Shea Adam working rather harder in the first 15 minutes than we'd expected to. What's that, 5 or 6 cars? And obviously some debris causing problems or people dropping off the edge of the track here. I'd say that was a single tyre change because that was a cut tyre or a puncture. Joe Bradley can confirm that.
Yeah, Jordan Peppers just told me it's contact which ripped the valve out of the wheel, so it deflated basically. So quick action there by not just the driver but the team also. Literally sprang into action on sight of the car on pit road.
Well, and lucky that they were able to get that car back. Let's give you a rundown of what is going on in the classes. Zach Robertson leads. No, he doesn't, because he's already gone behind the wall. So let's just let the timing screen catch up a wee bit. Peter Durrani leads by around about 3 seconds now from Ricky Taylor, the red and white number 31 Cadillac, ahead of the Acura DPI of Cunningham and Alter. Then it's the second of the Cadillacs, that is the 02 black with the red hindquarters for Alex Lynn. That's your top 3 there, separated by only 4 seconds. And in P2, it's Ben Keating from pole position from Hendrik Edmond for Dragon Speed. Note the fin on the Dragon Speed number 81 car. It is does not have its normal flex box sponsorship. It has Support Ukraine on there, and that was at the request, near the demand of the sponsor. They've given up their bit of the car for that. Meantime, the high-class racing car is in the pit lane with a drive-through for that contact at turn number 7 earlier on with the Tower Motorsport car. In LMP3, Gar Robinson leads for Riley from pole position in the 74 from Harry Gottsacker by only a 1/10 of a second, and another 2 seconds further back, Max Andretti for Fast MD. 74, 6 and 40. Big spin at the final corner, and that was the leader in LMP3, just as we were talking about that class. Gar Robinson has spun it around, and we've got the United car stopped on the far side of the circuit, running down towards turn 10. Are we gonna get to any cars at the end of this 12 hours?
This is crazy.
Unbelievable. Stopped on the circuit. This could be full course yellow. This is that is turn 6, coming down to the hairpin, and the United car not moving anymore. Now also in the pit lane, we've got Tristan Vautier. This is a standard pit stop. Before we go to Shea Adam, Joe Bradley with news on Andretti.
Yeah, the Andretti car still in. They were pouring coolant. By coolant, I mean bottled water into the engine. The engine was running. That tells me that they're trying to get coolant in and bleeding the system. And then when they've done that, they put the top onto the cooling system. And guess what? Water came blasting out of the exhausts. Never a good sight. This day is done for the number 36 Andretti team.
Standard pits up for the Mustang sampling Cadillac, 4 tires and fuel for Tristan Vautier. The fuel was done well before the tire change because he needed so much less. But that took about 25 seconds total for the 4 tires to be changed. Now Tristan has the advantage if we do go to full course caution.
Thank you, Shea and Joe. I can't remember an opening to any IMSA race like this, let alone the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring presented by Advanced Auto Parts. This has been extraordinary. Yeah. The guys in the press room at the moment have had to write about 76 different reports, and we're barely 20 minutes into this race. Another big flick of the rear end of Tristan Vautier's car as he's come out. So they're taking that as a tactical stop in case the full course yellow was to come out for that 22 car. The United car, though, has now moved on, And let's see if that comes in the pit lane next time around.
And we already talked a little bit about strategies. We'll talk about a lot more a bit over the next 11 hours and 40 minutes. But for those of you not familiar with the IMSA regulations, if there is a full course caution, if there is a necessity to slow down the entire field because of an incident on track, then the pits are initially closed. There are no pit stops allowed until everybody is packed up behind the safety car. Then there will be a sequence of pit stops. We'll see the prototypes in on one lap, and then the GT cars in the next lap around. If the number 5 car, it's already made a pit stop. If there is another full course caution shortly, it will not need to make a pit stop. All of the other cars ahead of it will need to make a pit stop. The number 5 car will stay out, and having been running in the 6th position up until that pit stop, it will then leap toward to the front of the field when all of the other cars come into the pit lane, because it is still on the same lap as the leaders.
Let's quickly give you a VP Racing Fuel in-race update and see who is making power in this race. In GTD, led at the moment by Robbie Fawley. He's third in the GTD line for Turner Motorsports, and that BMW M4 GT3, the red, white and blue car. In second, it's Madison Snow, another BMW M4 GT3. That's the Paul Miller Racing #1 car. And in third, a Ferrari Cetilar Racing. That's the blue number 47 of Giorgio Serna-Giotto. So that's your top 3 there. In GTD Pro, Daniel Surra, Risi Competizione, the red car with the Pentos sponsorship. Then Mirko Bortolotti in the bright green TR3 Lamborghini Huracan. That's the 63. And in third position, Antonio Garcia has worked his way through in the Corvette, making the best use of that extra 20 horsepower that he's had since the start of the meeting. Harry Gottsacker leads for Mobil Motorsport now with the Duke in the blue and white car. The number 6 machine from Dan Goldberg for Performance Tech Motorsport. That's a Ligier, the number 36. Max Hanratty, Fast MGD Racing has another Duke in. That's the number 40 car in third position. Paul Sittigar Robinson spinning out of the lead and down to 6th position. In LMP2, Ben Keating has held on to the lead from pole position and has put a 15 seconds into the Dragon Speed car, with Henrik Edman in second place, 52 from 81, and Dwight Merriman for Era Motorsport in the number 18 is in third. And at the front of the field, Pipo Derani has a 3-second lead in the red and white Whelen Engineering Cadillac number 31 from Ricky Taylor in the black and blue Konica Minolta Acura number 10. Alex Lynn in third, just 0.8 of a second behind. That battle for second place is holding up a little bit there. The 02 Chip Ganassi Cadillac, that's the car with the black front and the dark red rear section of the car. That's how it stands with 21 and 3/4 minutes to go, 11 hours 38 minutes, and that's your VP Racing Fuel update. Those are the cars that are making power. Jeremy.
Yeah, so, oh boy, that's been a dramatic opening 12 laps of this race, and all sorts of leading contenders. Pretty much in every class has had a problem so far, it seems. But the battles continue, however. There's a new fastest race lap for our race leader, so he takes full advantage of a bit of clear track there, does Pipo Derani. 147.7 for our race leader. That gap between first and second, it's around about 3 seconds. It's settled in around about there. All the top 4 cars, there's a replay of Gar Robinson looping it just ahead of those other few cars. So the 3-car battle there was in LMP3.
He'd gone wide, Jeremy, on the way in and taken the Pipo Derani line, but he didn't save it and basically got the worst of the bump under the bridge. Then he compounded the error by over spinning the car, trying to get it back in the right direction. He has done, but as I said in that VP Racing Fuel update, that has dropped him down to 6th position in class, and he's going to have to battle his way back through, but we know that's a quick car and a quick driver. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
What I was going to say was each of the top 4 cars in the race all set their best laps last time around, interestingly. Again, taking advantage of the fact they had one clear lap out there, because there's not going to be very many over the course of the next 12 hours. But 147 48.7. The lap record stands to both Felipe Nasr and Renger van der Zande, who set identical times last year at a 146.1, and we've already seen those sort of lap times during this race so far. So it's a very, very fast pace out in front. And Ben Keating, he's pulled out 18 seconds now over Henrik Hedman in the lead for LMP2. In LMP3, brilliant run by Harry Gottsacker, who came into this week thinking he was just going to be driving one of the Brian Herder Autosport with Curb Agajanian Hyundais in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Got a late call-up to join the Mühlner Motorsports team in car number 6, because Moritz Kranz unable to make it over from Europe. And he is leading the class now in LMP3 in car number 6, ahead of Dan Goldberg from Florida, in second place for Performance Tech Motorsports, based in the just north of Miami. And in third place is the Duquesne of Max Hanratty. That's a fast MD team. Really good effort by that small team. It made its debut at this level in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship at Petit Le Mans, the final race of last year.
Another spinner. It's turn 17 early in the piece, and that was the 5th place car in its class. That's the number 13 Orlando Corp sponsored LMP2 car, and that is, well, now did the LMP3 car, excuse me, did they? I think they got a little touch there, Jeremy.
Well, yeah, he was sort of on the inside. I think was that the Inception McLaren that was on the the outside of him. He sort of kind of pinched his line a little bit going down into turn 17. Did Ori Fidani in that AWA Duquesne, the LMP3 car, and just kind of looped around. I think he just got in a little bit deep, and I don't think there's any certainly. I don't think that's going to be worthy of any steward's inquiry. But a quick spin there for Ori. He's been, as you say, John, he's doing a nice job there in the 5th place in the class. Just going to lose him a little bit of ground. Last time around by the leader, by the way, was a 1 minute 50. Now a 48.2. That just shows you how much the lap times vary according to traffic out on the racetrack.
Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhoff in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre on the outside of turn number 17 in this brand new TV compound. Well done to Sebring and to all of the techs for getting a very complicated weekend up and running. 2 completely separate timing systems. There were some a changeover of camera operators yesterday as the WEC brought their own camera operators in, although using the same equipment. Although talking to the NASCAR Productions camera people, the European standard of doing things is very different from what happens over here. So all the controls had been reversed on the cameras this morning, so they were out early turning them back. The focus and zoom use different protocols. So that was all being changed over again this morning. A penalty for a pass under yellow for Alex Lynn in the 02 Cadillac. Yellow flags right ahead of him when the number 10, was that the yellow flag incident, or was that just a bit of bump and grind? I think that was just a bit of bump and grind, but Alex Lynn's got a drive through. Meantime, the number 10 in the hands of Ricky Taylor, getting up close and personal with the high-class racing car. Now, the high-class racing car's already been penalised for contact himself. That time he was on the receiving end of it. Now Ori Fidani is off at turn 3. And he has had a significant impact with the wall, was locked up a very, very long way out, and that car wasn't stopping. The AWA yellow and black machine, and this is going to be a full course yellow, I think. Fidani moving around in the car. Here comes the number 10 into the pit lane.
I tell you what, this is going to give a big advantage here to the cars, well, everybody except the leader. The leader, Pipo Derani, he was already past the pit entrance when that car went off the road. But it could be interesting to see now whether they're going to give everybody the opportunity to come in to make a pit stop rather than disadvantaging the leader, because the number 10 car took that chance to come onto pit lane before Udall.
Well, Fadani has actually got that car moving again. I didn't think that was coming out of there. Also had the number 12 Lexus in as well. Into the pit lane. Shea Adam was watching the stop as the AWE car gets running, so we've stayed green. Well done to Race Control for just playing that one out. Shea, what happened at Wayne Taylor Racing?
It was fuel and tires for Wayne Taylor Racing, as well as a clean of the windshield. Fuel and tires for the number 12 Lexus as well. No driver changes on the pit lane yet.
So everybody, again, if this is the strategy, this is rolling the dice. You've got to be flexible here. One of our Porsche keys to the race. Get the car in the best condition you can get it to the dark, and then see what performance you've got left. But you have to be flexible, and that was teams. We saw it early on with the Mustang sampling number 5 Cadillac, and now we've seen it again with the number 10 Acura from Wayne Taylor Racing, the Konica Minolta car, with the expectation that they could be the safety car coming out on the track. They took the chance. It hasn't worked so far for either of them, but there's still 11 and a half hours to go. Worth a little go to get the track position here. At the front of GTD Pro, Ferrari versus Lamborghini. How good is that to say? Racing Competizione leading TR3, the red Ferrari from the green Lamborghini, going under the Mobil 1 walkover bridge down towards turn 7. And another car going behind the wall, and Aston Martin, that must be the 23 car. Yes, it is the heart of racing. Alex Riberas with problems earlier on, and that car, another contender in class, has gone behind the wall. Still waiting for the 0-2 of Alex Lynn to make its drive through. It's in second position at the moment, just a second or so behind Pipo Derani, who continues to lead. But the battle that is closest at the moment on the circuit is two mid-engined Italian super sports cars, and that is the Ferrari number 62 from the 63 bright green TR3 Lamborghini. Two very experienced drivers there as well in those cars, with Daniel Serra and Mirko Bertolotti, both selected by the manufacturers. Meantime, at the top of the field, it is still Derani from Lynn, so Cadillac, 31 and 0-2, then Tom Blomqvist, then Mike Rockefeller, who's done the bulk of the work in the Ally Cadillac this week, because his teammates were both racing for Toyota and therefore weren't allowed to get in the car in case they hurt themselves. As it happened, it came to naught because Jose Maria Lopez, and I'm sure you've probably seen it on the World Wide Web or the highlights reels, Jose Maria Lopez, after clipping the number 88 Proton Porsche, then miscalculated, these are his words, miscalculated the amount of damage and drove it straight into a wall at turn 14. Car ending up upside down.
Wow. We've seen
really
some big shots there in the past, haven't we?
It was a big one, Jeremy. Yeah. It was a big one. Red flag came out straight away from WEC. And pleased to say Jose Maria was out on his own. He went to the infield care centre, he was checked out, he was fine, and in fact he did morning warm-up this morning in that Ally Cadillac, so that's good news for him and for us.
And that's the first time he's driven the Ally Cadillac all week.
Correct.
So that was...
And Cameron Cubby actually hasn't driven it at all.
Yeah.
So the only time he'll drive it is when he gets in to the car in the race.
Yeah.
Still waiting for the 0-2 to come down the pit lane.
Yeah, they must be arguing that call.
There may be a discussion going on. It was for a pass under yellow, but Alex Lynn at the moment just heading on to the long Ullman straight, and he's coming under pressure actually from the number 60 of Tom Blomqvist, who's slipping in the MSR car. That's mostly pink, but not as pink as it normally is. It's got a bit of blue and white on the side. And into the pits now for Alex Lynn. So whatever discussions were going on, it's gone the way of race control, as these things normally do. Not always, not always. We've seen in IMSA before, penalties being rescinded if contrary evidence can be presented. So Alex Lynn on the pit lane speed limiter. Awful feeling. Has to drive through the RFID readers just beyond the Chevrolet bridge.
And to make sure he doesn't exceed the speed limit.
Oh, very good, yes. Off the pit lane speed limiter and joining back in on the right-hand side of turn number 1, and that will drop him well down the order. Now that means we also need to make a note, Jeremy, to remind ourselves he's had a run through the pit lane, but not a pit stop. Whereas Ricky Taylor has had a proper pit stop, and so has Tristan Vautier. They've had top up of fuel.
And I would expect the other DPI leaders to come in very, very soon. I think under full green conditions, the laps, it should be sort of 21, 22 laps, but with the 2 pace laps, I would be surprised if we didn't see some takers next time for those who are running on the normal strategy, so to speak.
I checked in with Heart of Racing to find out why, after 30 minutes of working on the car in the pit lane, they've now chosen to go back to the garage. They said the problem is simple. We don't know what it is, so we need more hands on deck. They've checked everything they can think of. It's not a turbo issue. It's not a fuel line issue. They just don't know what's going on. But Alex reported on that initial lap that he smelled oil, so they were looking to try and see if they could find any leak anywhere. Nothing that they could find on the pit lane.
Thanks to Shea Adam down in the pit lane with Joe Bradley. It's Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh with you in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Coming up to 15 minutes before 11. We've only been racing for 35 minutes and I'm wiped out. It's like we've done 6 hours. Remarkable stuff.
The 01 Cadillac is back out on the racetrack. It's actually only... It's 2 laps down is Sebastian Bourdais, but in the 19th position overall.
Just had the opportunity to see some onboard there from Alex Lynn's car, and there was a yellow flag coming out just before the Corvette bridge when he overtook one of the other prototypes, one of the slower classes. But I tell you what, it must have been very tight for the car ahead of him, which I think at that point was Ricky Taylor before Taylor stopped. So that might be having a look at as well, and maybe that was the cause of the incident. Yellow flag in hand to drivers left. He may not have been looking that way with the car on the right. However, that was reported, and the drive-through has been taken. 11.5 hours near enough to make that back up again. So I suspect that won't be too much of an issue for the 02. 22 United Autosport car. This was the car that was dead stick on the back straight for a little while. Joe Bradley has that car in the pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like scheduled stop though for the 22. They had that car stop and they were pouring over data. I was kind of looking over their shoulder. I couldn't make out anything, what those graphs and what it meant. It was basically a system shutdown and a Control-Alt-Delete got the car underway again. So they can't fathom exactly what, and they probably won't until they get back to the factory and pour over the data, even if they want to. Car back out though, it's fuel and tyres only for that 22.
So the second and third place cars onto pit lane. That's number 60, Tom Bloomquist, Mike Rockefeller, and car number 48. Number 31 car stays out. That surprises me.
No driver changes for either of these DPIs, but they are doing 4 new Michelins for both of them, as well as fuel. So Mike Rockefeller staying aboard the Ally Cadillac, and it will still be Tom Blomqvist in the number 60 Meyer-Shank Racing Acura. Just waiting on fuel for the Acura, waiting for the car to drop off the air jacks. There it goes now for the 48. So the Acura did a much quicker pit stop through because the Cadillac hits its marks first. The Acura gets rolling first, though, so they've gained some position on this pit stop.
So good fuel economy then for the number 31 car and the 02. Interestingly, that car has not made a scheduled pit stop yet, just a drive through a couple of laps ago. So it looks like both of those two cars are going to do 21 laps on the first stint. That's very good fuel consumption this early stage of the race.
Sheard saying that they are expected this time around those two cars, which kind of works. It's a nice easy number to remember, wasn't it? The WEC cars yesterday, I was working all of that from the Alpine because they were doing 25. So I just had to count up in 25s.
25 laps?
Yeah.
Oh, were they?
The Alpine, which is the one that does the fewest laps, of course. Glickenhaus was doing 3 more, Toyotas were doing 4 or 5 more. Adam, you've got some more business at your end of the pit lane.
Hello, Pipo Durrani. Nice to see you. Welcome to the pit lane. Let's give you some new, sticker Michelin tires for Pipo. Wow, they're spoiling him. A whole lot of fuel going into this car as it will take all of the 30 seconds allotted. That's the minimum refueling time for an empty tank for the DPI cars. Just waiting on the tire change to complete. The right side's going on now. Car drops off the air jacks. There we go. Clean of the windshield because you're not going to waste those valuable tear-offs yet. And if I turn back to my left, I'll see the pit board swinging for the 02 as it has now entered the pit lane as well. Alex Lynn staying aboard for another stint. There goes Pipo. Next driver in the 02 will be Neil Johnny. He's already up on the pit stand, and I spoke with him this morning. Super excited to have gotten the call back up to come race a prototype again. Neil Johnny and prototypes is just something that seems natural. Let's see, are these sticker tires for the 02? They look pretty new. Yep, they're definitely new. I thought at one point the right front had been remastered, if you will, when they take the heat gun and pull the rubber off of it, but nope, they are all new. The car is just waiting on fuel at this point. Let's see, yep, all 4 tires have been done. Let's drop it off the air jacks, guys. There we go. They took a long time actually pulling the car off the air jack, and there goes Alex.
Also in there was the leading LMP2. It came in from the lead, should I say, because Ben Keating had already stopped. That was Henrik Edman for Dragon Speed. He has now rejoined. So that should be battle recommencing. Usual traffic jam down at turn number 7. Either side of the NSX, the bright red NSX and the Cetilar number 47 Ferrari, as this battle between the MSR Acura and Ricky Taylor in the other Acura. So it's the all Acura all day battle. Actually, is that the Acura ahead and go past Henrik Edman? He's just out of the pit lane.
Yeah.
The 60 chasing down the number 10.
Able to stay ahead of Mike Rockenfeller. Those two came into the pits nose to tail, leave the pits pretty much nose to tail. I think we can't see because we're looking forward, but where is oh no, actually the 48
no, that's
ahead,
it was the 48, yes, yeah. Exactly, it's the 48 that was ahead, not the number 10. Well, my apologies.
He's got past him on this lap then, because the last time they came across the line, the number 60 car was ahead of the number 48.
So that's Mike Rockenfeller in the Allied Cadillac, who has made up a position, was in 5th, now in 4th.
So a new leader then now is car number 10. That's our first lead change of the day. The number 10 car, of course, that made its pit stop on lap 15 in anticipation perhaps of a full course caution, which did not materialize. So it's slightly off sequence to most of the other leaders at the moment, but Ricky Taylor has taken full advantage of the tyres that he got at last stop, was able to make up the ground. He was 3 seconds behind car number 31 before he stopped, but he's been able to make that up and still come out with a lead now, about 6 seconds over number 31 car of Pipo Durrani.
Still at the front of the GTD Pro field, the Italian car battle, Ferrari versus Lamborghini Huracan. Daniel Serra for Risi in the red number 62, the green 63 is Mirko Bortolotti. And for a moment at least, they've got a bit of a gap as they go through Tower Turn number 13. The next car ahead of them is Pipo Durrani, the race leader, so he's driving away from them. But that means they'll have Mike Rockenfeller, sorry, Pipo Durrani in second now, isn't he? The next car coming through will be Mike Rockefeller, and Rocky is right with them now, goes up the inside of Bertolotti into turn 16. Brilliant piece of heads-up driving by Bertolotti. You can lose so much time when you're being passed by one of the faster cars. He just delayed his turn into turn 16, maybe half a second, and Rocky was through. And Joe Bradley, watching the feed down in the pit lane, noting just how stable these two Italian GTs are. They are not sliding the cars around. It is precision driving at the moment. Bertolotti just sitting, what, a second, maybe 3/4 of a second behind. I don't think he's putting any pressure on at the moment, and I don't think Serra is driving to his and the car's full ability either. This is really impressive stuff in the opening 45 minutes here at the 2022 Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advance Auto Parts.
And 21 laps in the books for the GTD cars at the moment. I would expect their stint length to be in the order of 28 or 29 laps through this race. So I would expect them in for another, what, 15, 20 minutes or so.
Shea Adam has been doing a little investigative work. We have had an awful lot of pit callers, a lot of things to find out for our pit lane crew. Shea, what update can you give us now?
Red Motorsport are getting close to coming back out to the pit lane. That is the good news for the Porsche team. They've been working on the diff for the last 20 or so minutes, trying to get that back into a good place. Don't know what was wrong with it, whether the numbers were off from where they should be or if they had to fully replace it, but a diff ultimately the culprit of the issues for Wright. We are expecting the 01 Cadillac in this time around as well, so that'll be another note for Jeremy's chart.
Okay, thank you. That was the number 16 Wright Motorsports car that we saw in. They were concerned that something had wrapped itself around part of the car on the left-hand side. Speculation on at IMSA Radio on Twitter that might have been the light cable from one of the prototype cars that had had a little ding in the rear quarter. But it's obviously, that might well have been the case, but it's obviously even a little more serious than that. Coming up to 11 o'clock, you're listening to live coverage of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring around the circuit and central region of Florida on 7:30 AM and 95.3 FM, the new News Talk FM frequency, and of course on Highlands Best Country 99.1 FM WWOJ, as well as around the world on IMSARadio.com. Sun beginning to come out, Jeremy. Temperature will start to rise, and with a bit of luck, the humidity might start to drop. It's gone down 9%, but it's still 81% out there. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah, 90 degrees and 90% humidity. That is seriously oppressive. So it's good to hear it's dropped down a little bit. We'll continue to do so. 24 laps completed there by our race leader now, Ricky Taylor, in the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. Still struggling even after a couple of years to call it an Acura. And here, as Shea Adams says, is the number 01 car onto the pit lane. It's 2 laps behind everybody else. And that was a...
It's still sick, Jeremy, this car. I hate to say it. It came crawling into its pit box. As soon as it got up on the air jacks, engine off, headlights go off, so all the electronics are off. A nice clean of the windshield. Wow, that's a big difference after only 40 minutes of running around. They did put 4 new Michelin tires on it, but the door has gone up again, the passenger side door. Oh, new steering wheel. They're trying that to see if maybe that'll make the difference for Sebastian Bourdais. But the issues continuing to plague this car. Now, Phil Binks gives the command to fire things up once again, son of Danny. And the car, again, does that weird lurching thing where it goes forward before the car is even on. So it is in gear right now. Seb trying to pull it back into neutral. There we go. He gets it fired. Come on, knock it into first. Knock it into first. Engine revs. And there goes the 01 crawling out of the pit box as well.
So that means that they've checked the mechanical actuators in the gearbox, and the mechanical side of the gearbox selectors isn't the issue. That sounds like it's electrical. That's why we're seeing them change steering wheels. So it's the switches and the management of the electrical side that actuates the mechanics of the gearbox. That's where the problem, it looks like, from that.
Thank you, Joe. And a little more good news. Shea said we were expecting it. It has happened. The 16 right car is out from behind the wall. Diff issues with that car, differential issues. The bit that puts the drive from the engine to the wheels in the right place. So quite important, that. Let's pick up a couple of GT battles. The metallic bronze. As the bright car just comes out, the metallic bronze McLaren has Heart of Racing Aston Martin right up behind it. And as they head towards turn 3, that'll give the right car something to aim at the moment. I presume that is the Riberas car coming back. No, it's not actually. Riberas is still in the pit lane. So that'll be the Crucial Motorsports John Miller driven number 59 McLaren with Ian James right behind them. That's 7th and 8th in GTD.
Good lap there by our second place car, Pipo Derani. All of a sudden, that gap that was 6 seconds just 3 laps ago is now down to about a second between first and second. Pipo Derani really charging on. And another spin there for Lance Willsey. That's at turn 17, isn't it? So he's looped it halfway around the corner. He hasn't made any contact with anything. That's certainly the good news for Lance Willsey, but he's going to lose a fair bit more ground.
It's the Stars and Stripes number 33.
Struggling to find reverse by the looks of it.
Yeah. You don't often need reverse in a racing car.
You hope you don't.
Yeah. It's one of the things. You sort of put that in the bank of things you check when you have had to find it and didn't know where it was, or if there's some kind of weird protector that you've got to push a button or pull a pin or something like that. Full spin for Lance. Looks like that was just caught out in the bunks. 4 across the track as the number 10 of Ricky Taylor trying to hold off Pipo Derani for first and second position. Coming down into turn 17. 4 prototypes wide. Coming to the line now, Ricky Taylor, Pipo Derani, the right motorsport car getting back up to speed. Black and blue Konica Minolta car turns into the first corner of 17. Another 3.75 miles of this lap ahead of it, and Pipo Derani flashing their headlights, coming up to the Mulder Motorsport car. And that is the leader, and another spin. That's the high-class racing car, the number 20. That at the moment with Dennis Anderson on board. He's had an eventful opening stanza of this, penalised for a drive-through for contact at turn 7. Then he got clocked by Ricky Taylor, and now he's off the track. Has continued. That was at the Palm Tree Carousel, as we're starting to call it now. Giving due deference to the long-term fans that have been there. When it gets dark, you'll know why we're calling it that. So the leaders picking their way through that little clump of traffic, which has the McLaren of Crucial Motorsports. Now the battle for the lead in GTD Pro. I said I didn't think they were racing. Well, now they're coming up on the Inception McLaren into turn 1, and Mirko Bortolotti is much closer to the 62 Risi Ferrari, and Daniel Serra has his mirrors full down the inside, coming into turn 3, up the inside, the driver's left. Lovely manoeuvre using the Inception McLaren, the black and red car that is right there with them. That's not in the same category. And Mirko Bortolotti takes the lead for TR3 in the GTD Pro category. And that, tell you what, that Inception car is quick in a straight line. Bortolotti has not been able to get through. As the leader in the Pro class is trying to get through. Here's a chance for Serra. Big jump of the 63. Serra around the outside at turn 10. They're three across the track. They've both hit the Inception car, I think, and they're still side by side. Sitting in behind the Inception McLaren, driving down the middle of the road like a safety car. Just controlling their pace, and through goes Bortolotti again. This time the Inception car pulls to the left, and both of the leaders managed to go through. That was a worrying few corners then for the driver of the number 70, Brendan Arib, for Inception Racing. Had at one stage he had the leader and the second place car. In fact, I think they were joint leaders at that point, one in either mirror, overlapping them halfway. Oh, there's a Ferrari. No, hang on. I thought there was a Ferrari behind me. No, there's a Lamborghini. Is it a Ferrari? Lambari? Farini?
It's an Italian car, I can tell you that, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And the Corvette in third position is not far behind. He's only about 3 seconds behind is Antonio Garcia.
Nowhere near that now.
No, that's right.
Because of that big held up. And in fact, the Risi has pulled into the pits at the end of that lap. So the TR3 car goes on. And the second place car then, as it came into the pit lane, having just been past that lap, Daniel Serra into the pit lane for Risi Ferrari. And the GTD leader coming in as well, Joe Bradley.
The 96 BMW Turner Motorsports is already on the jacks with fueling going on. Remember, the IMSA regs, the pit stop regs, allow you to change tyres at the same time as you fuel. It's going to be a driver change. Bobby Foley has gone out the car, been working hard. These guys getting out the car. You can really tell the humidity really getting to everybody. So while the fueling still goes on, it's a pretty scheduled and clear, straightforward pit stop.
Pit stop for Risi Competizione. Fuel, tires, and driver already done with the latter two, just waiting on the fuel for the Ferrari. Beautiful stop for the Texas-based team.
It was a straightforward pit stop, and as the driver pulled out, the engine just died, and he had to dip the clutch and then rev the engine to get it back alive, and then he managed to get the wheels spinning, and he's out.
That looks like it is Michael Dinan now aboard the Turner Motorsport BMW, by the way. It is Davide Rigon in the Risi Competizione. We've got the 79 WeatherTech Proton Porsche into the pit lane. That is still Julian Andlauer on the wheel of that. And the 97 Mercedes in as well. I'm very pleased to say that that car is out and running after they had so many issues earlier on in the week. But it is fuel, tires, no driver change for this car either. So Risi doing a driver change. Both of the WeatherTech cars keeping their original pilots aboard. Until Bechtolsheimer just rumbled past me, he is still in the Gradient Racing Acura.
Going for the double stint, as he sort of suggested he would do when Joe talked to him in the Michelin Countdown to Green. Just over 11 hours and 4 minutes to go. New drinks bottle going in the a new drinks bottle going into the WeatherTech car, and a race off pit lane. The Chettilar machine a little bit slow to get up to pace, and the Porsche of WeatherTech Racing went through. Just to confirm, it was Michael Dinan that got into that Turner BMW. It's quite loud down there when she was telling us that. So we'll wait for everything to settle down, because a lot of people doing the pit stops now. Shea Adam has more action at her end of the pit lane.
There's a driver change going on at the Pfaff Porsche. This is the one with driveway written on the side of it. The new sponsor coming aboard. Matty Campbell gets out. Felipe Nasser gets in. He's another one of those drivers who did a lot of work yesterday. We've got a driver change at the 93 Racers Edge Motorsport Acura as well, and welcome them to the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. That looks like Ashton Harris getting behind the wheel of that car for the first time. Fuel and sticker tires there.
And the leading LMP3 in for their pit stop. That's number 30 at the Performance Tech Motorsports. It looks pretty standard. Driver being changed as well as tyres and fuel. So we're seeing scheduled pit stops now rolling by, and yeah, the pit stop, or the pit lane I should say, is very, very busy, but it's interesting to see how staggered the teams. Some teams managing to get an extra lap over a car in the same class, and I'm not sure whether that's tactics coming into play there. Already in the first hour, tactics coming into play in the first pit stop phase.
I mean, enormous crowd here at Sebring for the 2022 Mobil 1 12 Hours, presented by Advance Auto Parts. we've had great racing all week with the 2 Porsche Carrera Cup North America presented by Cayman Islands events. Then we had the Alan J Network, Automotive Networks 120 for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Yesterday, a drama-filled World Endurance Championship opening round for their 10th season, starting here for their 2022 year. And now here's the leader in from GTD Pro, the bright green, the TR3 Lamborghini, and Mirko Bortolotti. Adam is already out of the car.
He is. Marco Mappelli taking over by the look of it for the 63 Lamborghini. They're doing fuel and tires for that car as well. No driver change for the 24 BMW M RLL team car. That is still staying as is, but fuel and tires for them. And also into the pit lane, the number 14. This is the Vassar Sullivan Pro Lexus. Fuel and tires, no driver change. We've got our second pit stop for the JDC Miller Motorsport Cadillac. No driver change there. Tristan Modier staying aboard for another stint, but he is getting fuel and new tires.
Means for at least a lap, Corvette is going to lead GTD Pro, having worked its way through. You are just joining us. There was a balance of performance change for the Corvette. They allowed a little larger air restrictor, giving them about 20 horsepower more. Heart of Racing 27 Aston in. I saw the NTE Lamborghini just leaving the pit lane as well. That's the blue and white car. As we come down to the first hour completed. You're listening to live IMSA, the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring from trackside on IMSA Radio, RS2, and our syndicated FM and AM radio stations around the area, and of course on XM, Sirius XM 206, live from Sebring. Give you a quick rundown. VP Racing Fuels updates with an hour completed, starting at the top of the shop and the front of the field, because they've all completed at least a round of pit stops. There were a couple of tactical pit stops earlier on when teams thought there might be a full course caution. That hasn't happened yet. Ricky Taylor leading by 0.8 of a second over Pipo Durrani, 10 from 31. Acura from Cadillac. It's a second Cadillac in third position. Another 10 seconds further back is the 48, the Allied Cadillac. Mike Rockenfeller's been in since the start. That's your top 3 there.
Yep.
LMP2, Ben Keating from pole position, staying in the 52. PR1 Matheson Kai's got almost a minute on Henrik Edmund for Dragon Speed, the 81, and Dwight Merriman for Era is pressing the back of the Dragon Speed car. That's the number 18. They're battling for second. Gar Robinson, Riley Motorsports, leads. He's fought his way back after a spin whilst he was leading. He dropped down to 6th. Now leads again from Dan Goldberg, Performance Tech, 74 from 38. And Alec Udell from Mueller Motorsport, the number 6, the blue and white Duquesne in third position. In GTD Pro, Antonio Garcia is now coming into the pits. He'll give up the lead in GTD Pro.
And he just came out of the pit lane, John, and he's ahead at the moment.
Oh,
there is the Corvette
so
heading towards
hasn't given up the lead.
But that battle that was behind, was ahead of him, I should say, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari, they remain nose to tail. And we saw that pass by the Lamborghini just before the pit stops. That order has been retained. So Lamborghini ahead of the Ferrari, but the Corvette has leapfrogged them both with an extra lap on fuel and tyres.
Yellow, green, red is not how traffic lights go, but that's how GTD Pro is at the moment. It's Corvette, Lamborghini and Ferrari. And in GTD itself, it's Brian Sellers for Paul Miller Racing in the BMW, from Michael Dinan for Turner Motorsport in the BMW, 1 from 96. And in third, it will be Maxi Goetz for the Allegra Mercedes, as John Potter has just pitted. Let's take some driver analysis of what's been going on. Shea Adam in a moment, but first let's go to Joe Bradley.
The 59 Crucial McLaren is, we've just taken John Miller out of that car. John, have you poured water on yourself?
Yeah, first of all, thanks to Crucial Motorsports, McLaren Orlando, Race for RP, Relapsing Pollock and Drydas Foundation for even getting us here today. I'm super glad to be a part of this, and yeah, I'm working as hard as I can. As you can see, I'm covered in sweat, haven't poured water on myself. You know, it's only going to get hotter today, and yeah, part of what we're trying to do today is to manage our energy. So. Both for the drivers and the cars. We started off with single stints, and we'll kind of see how the weather plays out and how we're feeling. We've got a great physio taking care of us, getting us rehydrated, making sure that we're good to go all the way to the end of 12 hours.
And John, that means when you get out of the car, the thing to do is to get out of this pit lane and get somewhere cool, rather than speak to me, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I figured I'd do a favor and wait around a little bit, but I'm going to take off back to the trailer. We've got it cooled down with the AC as cold as it'll go. I'm going to take all this wet stuff off and hopefully have some dry stuff to put back on later. But yeah, you know, the balance of the car was kind of all over the place, you know, with the track conditions. And we're hoping that as the night comes to us, as the track cools off, the balance comes back. That's kind of what we've set up for. And yeah, we're playing the long game today.
Well, from one Race for RP driver to another, Kyle Marcelli is fresh out of the Acura, the number 93 Racer's Edge. I say fresh because, well, I'm trying to be optimistic on this, Kyle. It's difficult out there, and the Acura is lacking certain driver comforts that you wish it had, right?
Yeah, you know, we came into this one race deal a little bit late, but you know, just hats off to Harrison Contracting and Wayne Taylor Racing for pulling resources together, as well as Racer's Edge. I mean, this was a group effort to get here, and you know, we're not setting the expectations too high. We just want to finish this race, you know, learn as much as we can. This is Ashton's first 12-hour, and you know, she's leaning on Tom and I to gain as much knowledge as possible. But in the rush, yeah, we didn't get to put any nannies in the car, so no AC, no cool suit, no helmet air. It's hot out there, and it makes it a real challenge, you know, especially when you're up against some of the modern, you know, stuff that they've just developed. They've had more time, and those drivers are a little more comfortable. But we'll give it our best shot.
After the big crash, and now you've got one stint under your belt, how are you feeling physically?
I'm sore. My neck and my upper back is sore, but to be honest, I'm a racer, and when I'm in the car, I don't even notice it. It's when I'm out of the car that I notice it. But yeah, just a really, really silly error yesterday, and you know, a fast car should always be able to go by a slow car on that run between 7 and 10, and I think it was just a lack of visibility by the TCR car, and you know, it is what it is. So you know, I'm back today, and for me, it was about getting back on the horse, and as Travis Hogue, the team manager, said, I got to totally redeem myself.
Thanks, Kyle. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Good to hear Kyle Marcelli, and it was one of a couple of big accidents that we had yesterday in fast parts of the circuit. The Toyota stood up very, very well. Actually, two Toyotas, weren't there, that had the big accidents? Yeah. The Supra GR and then the GRO 10. But good to hear him anyway. So let's check back in with the battles at the front of the field, where Pipo Derani has taken the lead. Turn one last time around, it was the NTE Lamborghini that he needs to say thank you to, because Ricky Taylor tried to go around the outside, then swapped to the inside. Actually, I'll take that back there. I'm not sure the Lamborghini could have done anything else. It held its line on the inside. Ricky tried to go around the outside, couldn't make that happen, and had to check up. Drive-through penalties coming for two cars. This is at pit stop violations for the number 97, which is the WeatherTech Racing Mercedes, and it was improper fire bottle procedure, and the other one is the number 32, which is the Gilbert Korkhoff Motorsports Mercedes AMG. So both of those cars are going to have to come down the pit lane.
Yeah, so that change of lead, and that's the second change of the lead. Number 31 back in front. Pipo Derani ahead now of Ricky Taylor. Mike Rockefeller is about 6 seconds back in that third position. Actually, that gap came back down a lot in the last lap. A good lap from Mike Rockefeller. Relatively clean for him. Tom Blomqvist in the Acura for Meyer Shank Racing, the Daytona winner, in 4th position, ahead of Alex Lynn, who had that penalty earlier on. He's about a half a minute back in the 5th place in car number 02. Another half a minute back to Tristan Vautier in number 5 Cadillac. They've certainly been struggling in the early stages of this race. Those are the only cars on the lead lap, the 6 leaders in DPI. The 7th car in DPI, that is a couple of laps off the ultimate pace. Sebastian Bourdais in the 01 car in 13th position after those 2 unscheduled stops very, very early in this race. In LMP2, Ben Keating has pulled out now over a minute over Henrik Hedman. Great job by Dwight Merriman, however, for Era Motorsport to run up into 3rd position, ahead of, in the number 18 for Era Motorsport, ahead of number 29 of Fritz van Eert. And then Stephen Thomas rounds out the top 5 in LMP2. LMP3, after the pit stops, it's Dan Goldberg who leads the class for Performance Tech Motorsports, car number 38, ahead of Alec Udell, who's had a baptism of fire, never driven an LMP3 car before. Night practice on Thursday, he did a couple laps kind of in the dusk at the beginning of the session, then did about another, well, he did 4 or 5 laps then just to fulfill his nighttime requirement. You have to do a minimum of 3 laps in the dark. Then he went out later on and did about another six or 7 laps. That's all the time Alec Udell has had in an LMP3 car. Pretty remarkable. He's running 2nd place right now, and his last lap time was actually almost identically the same time as Dan Goldberg, who leads at the moment. Gar Robinson, after that spin earlier on in number 74, is in 3rd position, ahead of Anthony Rantel in car number 7, number 54 for Autosport. Lead 2nd place car pits.
The 2nd place car into the pit lane, Connington Minolta Acura, and it's taking a little longer to get the tyres on, but the fuel was still going in, so they're not losing any time at all there. And that's 22 laps since their last stop. Jeremy, you'll be happy with that, are you?
Yep, that's about right, I reckon. 21, 22 laps we were thinking for most of the contenders in LMP, in DPI.
Let's check in with some more drivers. We'll go to the leading car in GT Daytona. Brian Sellers behind the wheel for Paul Miller Racing. Their first race with the BMW M4 GT3. They're having to learn all about front-engine cars. Shea Adams with Madison Snow.
All right, Madison, your first stint in a front-engine car, how was it?
I mean, it was pretty good. It's actually, it was hot to get in the car, but then the car has AC in it this year, which is a big advantage over the cars I've always driven in the past. So it was pretty nice. And I mean, it's going to be a long race, but the car seems to be okay out there.
It's really not fair because I've just been interviewing other drivers up and down the pit lane who look like death. You look like you've been sitting inside the motorhome for the last 45 minutes. You sure you were driving the car?
I mean, it's hot in there and I'm sweating and everything, but it's definitely cooler than it would be without it.
Car feels good though?
Yeah, car seems pretty good. So I mean, long race ahead of us, but we survived the first stint in the new car, so we should be good.
Nice job. See you later.
Thank you.
Lot to learn for that team and for those drivers. And in comes the AWA, in comes the Racing for Netherlands, Jumbo.com. This is the bright yellow prototype, and they've come in from 5th position. Fritz van Aert, the man who is Jumbo in the car. Good interview with him earlier in the week, and he was talking about, we were asking him if he was disappointed to have not got the call to be at Le Mans for 2022, one of the 6 cars that are on the reserve list. He said, look, I've done it 5 times. We said we wanted to do it 5 times. I'm concentrating on IMSA, and you know, we thought we might be able to fit it in because there wasn't an IMSA race. The P2s aren't going to be at Detroit, we haven't had it. If we don't find out by Friday of next week, then we won't be going. Logistically, we can't do it anywhere. I thought he was rather sanguine and pragmatic about that, and he's really excited. More to the point, he wanted to talk about racing here in IMSA, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think he was clearly disappointed that he didn't get the entry to more, having supported it so so staunchly over the last few years. But as you said, it's certainly not the end of the world, and he is absolutely loving his racing in North America. Business-wise, it makes sense because he's opened his La Place restaurants in New York, San Francisco, and a few other cities as well, Los Angeles certainly, and he's expanding the business over here. But he just loves his racing in North America.
The answer on the situation with those 2 fire bottle penalties that we called for you earlier on, Gilbert Korthoff AMG, and it was the WeatherTech AMG. The pins, the fire bottles were there, but the pins were in. See, that's something else that you add to your list to check when you get into a racing car or you've got your crew over the wall. Is the pin out? Sitting in the collecting area before you go out. As a driver, you always have a little look. And if it's not out, if you can stretch over to pull it out, otherwise you motion somebody over to do it. It's one of those things that you do. Scrutiny in post-race, you'd be disqualified if that was the case. You'd lose your position. It was the pins for the additional fire bottles, I should say, not for the cars. So for the guys on the wall when the fueling is going in. But it's, as I say, those are things that you learn, that if you haven't raced before, maybe you don't think about it. So as a driver, is the pin out? Yes. Do I know where reverse is? Yes. How do I start it? Oh yes, yeah, okay. And which way do I turn out of the garage, left or right? That always things to ask. Pit lane speed limiter, always a good one. Some cars automatically have it when you're in first gear. Others automatically engage it as soon as you come down off the jacks as well, which is very nice to do. So you've only got to turn it off when you leave the pit and back on again when you come in. All these little things you add up. Brian Sellers leads in the Total Quartz grey, red and white Paul Miller Racing BMW, with the bar across the grille and the IMSA stickers on there. I think that actually looks really good for that car. We've seen some good utilisation of neons behind the grille as well. The RLL cars have got the top part blue and the bottom part yellow, and then reversed on the other car. It is the 50th anniversary year of BMW M performance. The car suffered with a rear diffuser issue at Daytona, but we found out earlier in the week, Joe Bradley, that they kind of understood what had happened there, and it was all about the aero and the rake of the car.
All about the ride height, wasn't it? And the thing that you have here at Sebring is lots of ride height. You've got to jack the cars right up. In fact, you're carrying the highest level of ride height here at Sebring than anywhere else. It's because of the bumps and the turns here. But Daytona threw up a bit of an aero quandary, didn't it? It was basically sucking the car to the floor and ripping off the rear diffuser, and it was an anomaly that a lot of head scratching went on a BMW because of it. But they finally found out that to do with the rake of the car, which is basically the difference. The front end of the car is always lower than the rear, and it's that rate of the difference between the front and the rear ride height. That's what you call the rake. And here we're running quite a high rake at the rear. And that seems to have been rectified the issue. So no issues. They tried to engineer it out, and there was really no need because the engineering was good. It was just that the way that the air was moving under the car, that was doing the job.
Bill Oberlin telling us that earlier on this week, that they had indeed strengthened the mounts, but it was mainly that big aero drag that they were getting. Meantime, Allied Cadillac in the pit lane. I heard the air hammers. That was out of second position, so that's new tyres on that car. Driver change, I think. Mike Rockenfeller brought that car in, so let's see. It may have just been a drinks bottle. There was definitely something going on. I thought they were trying to help fasten a new driver in, and it is Jose Maria Lopez who did the warm-up this morning. So it's his first race laps, and we still haven't had the third driver in that car. And I don't mean in the race, I mean all week, because Kamui Kobayashi, like Jose Maria Lopez, and indeed Mike Conway in the 31 car, they were the three Toyota drivers that Toyota said, yeah, you can have them for the race, but not for any sessions before then. Let's quickly have a word with Jim Maguire, recently out of his car. Joe Bradley.
Quite literally just out of the car is Jim Maguire. Jim, you okay to speak? I know it's very, very hard work out there. You okay to talk to us? Are you okay to talk?
Yeah, it's pretty hot out there. You know, we were hoping for some yellow flags, but nothing happened there. So it was flat out, great race.
Problem with the car, your whole system shut down.
Electrical cut out. I recycled the engine and got going again. So
it was as simple as that. Simple as that.
yeah, luckily, hopefully nothing comes back to haunt us later, but feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, Jim, I'm going to let you get cool. I'm going to let you go and cool off. Everyone working very hard here to keep that United Autosports number 22 on the road, and as you heard there, Jim Maguire confirming it was a system shutdown and a control-alt-delete situation.
Sometimes the bumps here can do all kinds of weird and wonderful things. Shea Adam has news of a driver change. And Tom Blomqvist out of the Meyershank Racing Acura. Who's got in, Shea?
Ollie Jarvis, because he hasn't done enough driving so far this weekend in LMP2 machinery. That was yesterday for Ollie, but now he's back in his rightful place in the DPI. Fuel and 4 tires. They're getting ready to receive the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac as well. That's interesting because the last time that car pitted at least a lap after the Meyershank Acura did. Might have even been 2, actually. And also into the pit lane will be the 02 Cadillac. I don't see Neil Johnny helmeted yet, but he could be just waiting back in the shade a little bit.
Nice to see Chelsea Jarvis here at the circuit as well earlier on today. Good day for Ollie Jarvis yesterday, taking the victory with young Josh Pearson and Paul Di Resta for United Autosports in LMP2 in WEC. Josh became the youngest ever World Endurance Championship driver. He was 16 on Valentine's Day this year. First WEC start, first WEC win. It's not always as easy as that, as we told him yesterday. Good drive by his 2 more experienced teammates as well. People in the pit lane, this is 22 laps as well, so that's spot on, Shea.
Alrighty, well, if it's spot on, I'm not going to second guess you. It is fuel, tires, and driver change. Pipo Derani getting out. Tristan Nunez getting in. Mike Conway, the third of the number 7 Toyota drivers who is not allowed to participate. Still not allowed to participate in the race. Not quite yet for any other reason besides, well, Tristan wants to go after Pipo. We've also got the 81 Dragon Speed LMP2 car into the pits. That is Henrik Hedman out. Montoya in. Sorry, Sebastian Montoya getting in for his first IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship start. They're doing fuel and tires on that car as well. Still waiting on the fuel. There we go. There goes Whelen Engineering, and Neil Johnny is getting into the 02. He's now up on the wall.
Door closes on the number 81 Formula Imports Support Ukraine Dragon Speed car. And Flexbox deserve a lot of credit for that. Gave up their space on the rear fin and asked if they could have that replaced.
Did Shea say earlier on that Neil Johnny took over from Alex Lynn?
Doing it now.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, absolutely. That car in the pit lane.
So there wasn't a change on the last stop then?
Yeah. Well, okay. Earl Bamber started the car. Did he?
No.
Okay. So, you know, what happened, that's interesting, because I've got Earl Bamber who started that car. I don't think that was right at all, was it? It's a glitch in the timing. So, Alex Lynn did 12 laps, then he did a short stint, and then he did 22 laps. So, it's been Alex.
All the way up until now?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Go. Tick that one off, Jeremy. So out in the Dragon Speed number 81, Sebastian Montoya continuing the family business. Young man who has proved himself to be very capable indeed in this sports car. How old is Sebastian, Jeremy?
Who?
Sebastian Montoya?
He's 16.
He's another, I was going to say, another 16-year-old.
16-year-old, yeah.
And what's he doing? A bit of karting?
Yeah, lots of karting, and then he's been doing F4 in Europe recently. He's done some, I think he did some Formula Regional Asia recently as well, which has gone fairly well. And he's racing last year and a half or so in Europe in F4.
Henrik Edmond just out of the number 81 Dragon Speed. I'm not going to mention how hard these guys are working because I think everybody's in the same boat. Henrik, just tell me how the car's feeling after that first stint.
The car has been great the whole weekend, and it's no difference today. It's on rails, and the only thing is the traffic. It's a lot of traffic, so we've got to be careful, and especially for me, don't make any mistakes, and just keep it on the track and let the big boys finish it tonight.
You've always been a tactical driver and just done the minimum driver requirement. Is that still the tactic today?
Yeah, I think the P2, the pro drivers are so good, so you can't really afford to joyride. So I think all of us are going to do the minimum time.
You certainly have got a strong team, 2 generations of Montoyas. You're doing something right getting those 2 on board.
Yeah, that's just been an amazing experience itself. No matter what happened this race, it's
Pippo Durrani,
cool. Do you learn from someone like Juan Montoya? I would imagine it's hard not to.
Here's the thing: if you listen, you always learn. He will teach you, but you have to listen, and I have.
I can see that. Thanks, Henrik.
well, Pippo, now you've had a couple of minutes out of the car. The heart rate comes down, but this is Sebring. Is there anything better than getting to race, particularly a Cadillac, at Sebring International Raceway?
Well, actually, the heart rate comes up when you're jumping out of the car. So, no, Sebring is fantastic. It's always a pleasure to drive around this track, especially with a fantastic car like the Cadillac DPI. So I'm enjoying myself out there. It's a hot day, very, very hot, and so pace yourself will be important towards the end of the race. So I have a great team. Tristan is out there now. Then Mike, I'll be jumping back in a few times. A couple more times, I believe. So yeah, enjoying the moment and having fun out there.
It's 2 cars, 2 different team names, but ultimately 6 drivers in 1 family. How much help did you get from the 3 guys who ran the WEC race yesterday with information for today?
Yeah, of course, the 48 is it's the same team as us, so it's great to have the ability to share information with them. Mike has been driving alone all the practice, so I feel sorry for him having such a hot day today, but I'm sure Kobayashi and Lopez will make sure that he gets a little rest finally. So yeah, it's been great. We have a great car, we have a great team. We have enough information to have a good car for the end of the race, so I think we just got to get there.
Pippo, great first stint. Can't wait to see what you do in the next.
Thank you.
What he'll do in the next, he'll be Pippo. He'll just go quickly. Oh, a little bit long for Sebastian Montoya at turn 10 then, drops the left-hand rear Michelin over the edge of the blue and white curb. Got to be careful coming back on that you don't cut the shoulder there. Formula Regional Asia, finished 7th.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good.
And yeah, he's now a minute behind Ben Keating, who still stays aboard that number 52 car. The Iron Man, again, he is a remarkable character, isn't he, Ben Keating? Yeah, those 2 are about 5 seconds only ahead. Montoya is of Dylan Murray, who has taken over from the team owner Fritz van Eert in the number 29 racing for Netherlands. And then Josh Pearson's about a half a minute back in car number 11. Ryan DeYell has taken over the wheel of number 18 car, running in 5th position after a good stint by Dwight Merriman to start this race. In LMP3, battle has been going on for the last few laps. Dan Goldberg still leads for Performance Tech, but pretty much right behind him is Alec Udell. The gap fluctuates a little bit according to traffic. And just an excellent first stint from Alec Udell, first time ever in a prototype car. Carl Robinson, the defending series champion, is about 24 seconds back in third position. John Bennett, defending race winner in LMP3, is about another 20 seconds behind Gar in car 54 for Core Autosport. GTD Pro, who are kind of next up in line, not too far behind them. Antonio Garcia, he still leads in the Chevrolet Corvette by about a couple of seconds over the continuing to battle Lamborghini and Ferrari, Marco Mappelli and David Arrigo now at the wheel of those cars respectively. And then only a second or so behind them, the two factory BMWs, Augusto Farfus and Nick Yellerly. So we've got the top, 5 cars in GTD separated by about 5 seconds, i.e. not very much.
Little VP Racing Fuel updates there. Those are the cars at the moment that are making power. Don't forget, after the race tonight, the checkered flag ends the race, but only starts the conversation. Michelin countdown to green. We had earlier on. We'll have post-race tech from Michelin later on. Hashtag Michelin PRT. You can start tweeting in now at IMSA Radio using that hashtag Michelin PRT. If there's things that you're seeing in the race now, get that in. We'll start looking at them later on in the race, but hashtag Michelin PRT for post-race tech. Your comments, observations or points arising, and Jeremy and the team and I will go through that with a few interviews as well once the checkered flag has fallen. Hello to Sven Mesman, tuning in from the Netherlands. Good to have your company today. Racing for Netherlands, the Jumbo car, the Jumbo car out there in the fight at the moment. A lot of good Dutch drivers who have been helped out down through the years from Frits van Aert, and great to have Frits. What a character he is. Brilliant stuff. Did a good stint earlier on as well. And Dylan Murray behind the wheel of that car, running in third place at the moment. Sven, I know you'll be supporting everyone. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, imsaradio.com for not just the audio. You can take us with you if you're in the car, RS2, stream it through your Bluetooth from your smart device. But if you're in a territory that does not have a TV deal, then you can hit the world feed by hitting the live video button. Drama in the pit lane. Shea Adam.
I can't see it up close, John, but I'm pretty sure the Carbon Lamborghini, which just came in for its service, has a lot of white smoke pouring out from the engine cover. It's the complete opposite end of the pit lane. As a Cadillac is back in, it's the 0-1 once again. I think this one is going behind the wall potentially. They just had it in here with the engine cover off. Ryan Hunter-Reay sitting behind the wheel of the car. Carbon Lamborghini is still not moving though. I can't be entirely sure, but my brain says that that was white smoke of fire. 0-1 is coming back into its box for more work. So the Cadillac racing team with a bit more work to do, and the engine cover coming off again. What a heartbreaking day for this organization.
It was Robert McGuinness who brought the car bomb with Peregrine Lambo in, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, who was trundled to his pit stall. The lightweight rear deck has come off, and there's a problem with the engine, and they've got somebody looking into it, literally. Robert McGuinness is going again, so maybe it was fire extinguisher going off there on that car. Hello to Michael Wallace, who's tweeted at IMSA Radio. He says, I think burnouts after a pit stop are one of the best-selling features for IMSA. Some series rather frown on that. But
WEC not allowed to do it.
Not allowed to spin the wheels.
Yeah. in IMSA you can't spin the wheels when the car's up on the jacks, but as soon as it's down again, you can do whatever you like.
Yeah, as long as you don't speed. As long as you can control the car and you don't hit the pit lane. But it's happened at Le Mans. I think Ben Keating's Ford was the year that Ben Keating won the race. He was penalised for wheel spin, and then of course the win was taken away because of the fuel tank issues on the Monday, where the post-race scrutineers seemed not to know the difference between volume and weight. But I've pushed the soapbox away for that one. Joe Bradley has made his way to the car barn Lamborghini pit, and was there a bit of extra? Oh, the car has now stopped on the circuit, Joe. What happened at the pit stop?
Well, what I think Shea has mentioned smoke of some sort coming from that number 39 Lamborghini. As I got down here, the crew are all leaving the pit box area, jumping onto carts and scarpering out the back, and I presume the car might have gone behind the wall, but you're reporting the car out on track stopped.
Yeah, it's on the grass at the moment at about turn 7 or 8 there. 8, yes, it is 8 at the moment, and it looks like they're trying to get it pointing in the right direction. Robert McGuinness behind the wheel. In fact, he's reversing the car. Is he trying to get it behind the wall, Joe? Go ahead.
I've got Chris Lewis from the Corey Lewis from the team. Corey, we're just speculating here. Put us right.
Yeah, it seems like Rob had taken in some debris. It looked like a plastic bag, a shopping bag that got stuck into the radiator and tended to overheat the engine. We came in and it was just spewing a bunch of coolant. So right now we're trying. Looked like the temps are coming down on telemetry, but obviously we're overheating or where we lost a lot of coolant. So we'll try to get back to the hauler, fill it back up, and see if we can salvage something here.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for telling us that. Never a good thing, and very, very hard to get back when you've overheated an engine to that extent. You invariably damage things. You break head gaskets and the like, and it's very hard to come back from that.
There was a huge heat haze from the engine compartment of that car. It's clearly running very hot indeed, that Lamborghini V10 engine. Let's pick up one or two battles on the circuit then, with Tristan Nunez now leading in the leading Cadillac, the 31 Whelen Engineering car, with 5 seconds over Ricky Taylor in second. For Cunningham and Alter, the Allied Cadillac number 48 is third, the white and shades of purple. And then 18 seconds further back, it is Meyershank Racing and Ollie Jarvis. It's only 0.4 of a second ahead of Tristan Mortis. In fact, 40 has gone through, has he, Jeremy?
Well, they were side by side as they went across the start-finish line.
Yeah.
0.029 separated them as they went across start-finish line, and from on board the number 60 car, that would appear to be Tristan Vautier.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
The number 5 car struggled through the first stint, but clearly now it's more to the liking of Tristan Vautier, and he makes that pass for his 4th position.
Hello to Martin J, tuned in to DOM, Yogi Dom. Michael, we've mentioned, Michael Wallace. Hello to Richard P. Good to know you're tuned in as well. Coming up to just under 10.5 hours still to go. What a first hour and 35 minutes we have had in terms of the drama here, with all kinds of quite well fancied entries.
That's true.
Hitting trouble in what I think was the first 5 minutes or so, Jeremy. It was mental, absolutely mental. Battle for second in GTD Pro with Antonio Garcia ahead by about 3 seconds after that pit stop exchange. So going the extra lap for Corvette really worked for them. They got out ahead of both the TR3 Racing Lamborghini, the green car, and the red Risi Competizione, now in the hands of Marco Mappelli and Davide Rigon. They're still having their battle as they come through traffic.
Yeah, and that second and third place battle between that the Ferrari and Lamborghini, now the Lamborghini and Ferrari, it's gone on from the very beginning of this race. Or every inch of it since then. They've both been caught by both of the BMW M Team RLL BMW M4s. And as we just saw, one of those BMWs, I think that was Augusto Farfus, has got past.
got past
Davide Rigon in the Ferrari. And right behind them also is Nick Yellowly. And about 10 seconds farther back down the road is Aaron Tielitz, who's running 6th in the Lexus. Well clear of the 2 Porsches of Julian Andlauer in car number 79 and car number 9 of Felipe Nasser. Felipe Nasser, yes, in a Porsche GTD car. It's so weird.
It's odd, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I still can't get with... I was sitting talking to him the other day, Jimmy Bruni, and I still can't get used to him in his Porsche overalls. And he's been there for 4 seasons now. I remember what Rick Mayer said to Shea Adam in our Michelin Countdown to Green. They have set the car up for the last 2 hours of the race. They know they're going to have to take the pain now. Well, there's not that much pain. They're running very, very well. So if that car's got some extra performance to give later on, that is very, very good news indeed for them. And as you say, the Augusto Farfus driven number 25, having moved up now to 3rd position, that BMW for M Team RLL. News coming, by the way, yesterday I think it was, and again thanks to John de Geese for asking the questions around the paddock. SportsCar 365's founder and managing editor. RLL will be going down to 1 car after this race, and that is so that they can concentrate on the development of the Dallara LMDH BMW. So they're going to roll part of the team into full development of that car ahead of its debut at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona in January next year.
Yeah, so kind of good news and bad news. Yeah, bad news, we're going to have only going to have the 1 BMW Team RLL entry in GTD Pro, but good news that BMW and that Indianapolis-based team are going to be able to concentrate on getting ready for the 23 season, which of course is hugely exciting with that new LMDH car. Both John Edwards and Conor De Filippi, good friends. They live close to each other nowadays in North Carolina. Conor's originally from the West Coast, from San Clemente, and John Edwards is originally from Kentucky, but they're good buddies. They get along really well together. They hang out together, and they are very, very excited about doing the full season in this M4. The balance performance wasn't right really for the BMW for the first round at Daytona, but the IMSA technical team seems to have done a super job of rectifying that. They've given the BMWs a bit of a break here, a little bit more power, a little bit less weight, and the car is now competitive with the other contenders in GTD. And both of those 2 drivers taking advantage of it. Augusto Farfus in the primarily red car, number 25, is up now into the 3rd position in GTD Pro. But the top 5 cars covered by still very little.
Just a quick note about the Carbon Lamborghini. The brilliant Alan Prosser, Lanzarote Camel, has done a screen grab and zoomed it and sent it to me. And the windscreen is entirely opaque on that car when it was pulled over. So not a surprise it was pulled over to the side of the road. Now, whether that is because of the heat inside the car or there's fluid spraying around there, but Robert McGuinness probably couldn't see very much at all halfway around the track. Remember, I think, Shea, you said, didn't you, that you tried to look through the passenger window and couldn't see him. We thought it might have been extinguishing. It might have just been condensation or some kind of fluid spray.
Yeah, that's true, too. It looked a bit like Casper the Friendly Ghost was pressing himself up against the window, though. It was that dense of a whiteness on the passenger window, so I have no idea how Robert got that far around the track.
And Shea, did the 0-1 go back behind the wall? Has that come back out again?
It went back out, it's back in, and it's driving down the pit lane. It's going behind the wall again. Very, very slowly. Listen.
Oh, so it's in right now?
That's it, just driving by me right now. That's about a 1/3 of the pit lane speed limiter, I would say.
Thank you, Shea. Getting a few questions.
That was the 0-1 car, wasn't it?
Yeah, 0-1 again.
And the number 02 car has been pretty quiet since the opening stint. We saw the number 02 car was started by Alex Lynn, who was very, very quick right off the beginning of the race, was running in as high as 3rd position. Neil Giardi at the wheel of that car now. Of course, Lynn got a drive-through penalty for overtaking somebody else under yellow flags and a different class car, so had to serve that penalty. And since then, the number 02 car is running kind of at the tail end of the lead lap, but Neil Jarni just doing everything he needs to do at this stage in the race, just trying to turn consistent laps. He's not a regular driver for Cadillac. He's stepping in to this long distance race after Kevin Magnussen was called up by Haas F1. So Neil Jarni, a former pole sitter here at Sebring, of course, for the Rebellion team, that was, wasn't it? Half a dozen years ago. And loving the opportunity to get back to race here in North America.
Very, very tidy driver indeed.
Just a good guy too.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Always good to talk to. Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Let's talk to some more drivers before the next set of pit stops comes around. She's got Tristan Vautier.
A very, very wet Tristan Vautier, because you got out of the car very sweaty and then poured a bottle of water over yourself. I asked if it helped, and you said, for now. The 5 Mustang sampling car, it doesn't have the creature comforts that you would hope it does, but how is it driving around this track?
Yeah, it's okay, to be honest. The car is not bad at all. I think just the Ganassi and the 31 are a bit better than us on pace, but this start of the race was about kind of management. We had to start with those qualifying tires, which were very damaged from the spin. So I had to be very conservative, make sure, you know, we keep the 4 tires safe on the car. There was vibration, there was no grip. So we knew we would fall back, and then kind of got into a rhythm. Traffic is very sketchy, especially at the start of the race. You know, it's the drivers with less experience in those LMP3s, LMP2s, and GTD cars. So it was good. I think we're okay. I think we have a good car for the night. And now head down. We try to stay in the game and be there when it matters.
You guys went off strategy. Is that going to help you in the long run?
We're not sure, but we didn't really have a choice, because we didn't want to go all the way on that first stint with those tires. We were scared of having a tire explode or something, because some of them didn't look great after the spin. But all good. It's a long race. We got to stay in the hunt and work towards the last 2-3 hours.
Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
John, he's exhausted. You can hear it in his voice.
You could hear it in his voice. We heard it all day yesterday with the highly horned athletes in the FIA WEC. Battles in the GT Daytona category. And Ferrari with Lexus and BMW. Lexus stays out the way because that Ferrari is under real pressure now from Nick Yellerly. In the Ferrari at the moment, it's Augusto. It is Davide Rigon. Nick Yellerly, Augusto Farfus's teammate, trying to go through. This is a battle for 4th and 5th position in GTD Pro. And they are very, very close together. Also, as I say, in the mix, the RCF number 12. That car is the standard GTD category, if you like. Frankie Montecalvo in the non-pro version of the car. The 14 is the pro car. He's down in 11th position in the GTD class and dutifully stayed out the way from that battle, keeping his eyes on his mirrors. He's got to be a bit careful because there is a car. Oh, that is the WeatherTech. No, it's not the WeatherTech car at all behind him. Just trying to see if he was racing somebody behind him. He's not, so that's all right. But he let them through. The Lexus team deciding, Jeremy, to split between the GTD Pro and AM for their efforts this year. So still the 2 cars, still distinctive in those yellow and black colours. But the 14 is the Pro car and the 12 is the AM. Nick Yellerly taking the opportunity to stick his nose up to the inside of the red Risi Competizione of Davide Rigon. They're still side by side as the battle for 4th position. And finally, as the BMW goes through, that's at turn 3. Through past the palm tree grove on the driver's right-hand side. Into the carousel. But remember what Rick Mayer was saying earlier on. They've set that car up for later in the day.
Yeah, well, so is everybody.
Well, I think so.
But it's certainly interesting to see the BMW just gradually moving up here. No question about it. It was a little. It was never far behind, but it certainly closed in, and it's running very nicely at this stage in the game. All of the BMW is running well. In GTD, regular, non-pro, Brian Sellers has taken over from Madison Snow. He leads in GTD, 26th position overall, and he's about 7 seconds ahead of Maxi Goetz in the Allegra Motorsports Mercedes. Third position is the second of the privateer BMWs for Turner Motorsport. About, what, 16, 17 is further back in third position. That's kind of a 96. And then fourth in the class in GTD is the AF Corsa Ferrari, the Argentinian Luis Perez Componc at the moment at the wheel of that car. He's about another 20 seconds back and about 10 seconds ahead of Till Bechtelsheimer in the Gradient Racing Acura. So in GTD, it's BMW, Mercedes, BMW, Ferrari, Acura, spin for car number 47.
Chetila Ferrari has gone around, but is pointing in the right direction. That again was right opposite Palm Court at the carousel. Turn number 3, Christensen curve. As into the pit lane comes the number 11 LMP2 car. I was just pausing there because Josh Pearson doing double duty this weekend after his win yesterday in Class P. Mathers Motorsport. I was just looking, there is damage on that back tyre. Just the angle that I was looking at there, I couldn't decide whether there was damage or not. The left rear tyre, Jeremy, with damage on that car.
Yeah, it's sort of pretty much completely off the rim, isn't it? It's completely flat, and it's wrapped itself around it. Thankfully, it hasn't come apart. Well, it has come apart, actually. But the bodywork around that, thankfully for the team, at least at this stage, seems to be okay. So Josh Pearson doing a good job to get that car back without any flailing rubber in there.
16-year-old Josh Pearson, let's not forget. 2 16-year-olds in this race, and Josh already a World Endurance Championship class winner, courtesy of yesterday. He's got a busy programme this year, bouncing backwards and forwards between PR1 Matheson here in the US and his duties with United Autosports in the World Endurance Championship. The young man who is very well thought of by Richard Dean and Zach Brown, who look after him in United.
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented kid, no question about it. I mean, he raced last season on the road to Indy in the first step of that ladder in USF 2000, and did pretty respectably for one so young, for goodness sake.
Yeah, he was actually too young to race in Abu Dhabi in the first races of in Dubai, rather, than the first races of the Asian Le Mans Series, because he hadn't turned 16.
Well, he was too young to race at Daytona, in actual fact, but he was given a waiver. I think somebody actually didn't look at the date of birth.
Oh, really? Because
yes.
he was. So he must have still only been 15 Correct. At that point.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Valentine's Day. He was.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple of weeks before his birthday, he was given a waiver to complete that first race.
Starting another set of pit stops at the front of the field. Another 22 lap stint for the Konica Minolta Acura number 10. Ricky Taylor is heading towards Shea Adam.
He'll be hanging out here for a while longer too, because Will Stevens is taking him his first ever race in during the Mobil 1 12 hours of Sebring. Ricky out. Will is now disappearing into the cockpit of that car. We've got 4 new Michelin tires, and let's see, waiting on one more to be secured. Drop the car off the air jacks now, there we go. And just waiting on fuel, so a good stop for the Konica Minolta team. We are expecting more pit stops. In is the 28 Allegra, Michael De Quesada bringing that car, starting the car. I think it was Maxi Goetz taking over. That car looks like normal service as well. Fuel and tires there. And we have just had the 97 Mercedes from WeatherTech Racing into the pit lane. Cooper McNeil got out of that car, and it was Jules Gounon taking over. But the sister car, the 79, is expected in here soon. I do not see another. Oh, there we go. Yep. there's another driver up on the wall. So if it's Andlauer who started, it'll be Piccarello who takes over at this point, because Cooper has not had enough time out of the car to recover, but he has had enough time out of the car so where we can interview him. So that's my next target, John.
Thank you, Shiv. Very close call at turn 3, involving the number 81. That is the Sebastian Montoya-driven Dragon Speed car. He's trying to chase down Ben Keating for the lead of LMP2. He's got it down to 15.6 seconds. There was no touch. He's all right. It was forceful up the inside. He made it work. He's definitely trying to make up ground on Ben Keating. That was at turn 3. And at turn... where's that, Jeremy? That's 13, isn't it, as he went through? Again, there's just enough room. There's a Dragon Speed car's width and about an inch either side there. But young Montoya is certainly turning the wick up and trying to drag that gap down between himself and the leader. 13.3 seconds in LMP2. That's Evel Knievel, Stars and Stripes, with the extra blue and white on it for Ukraine this weekend. That space donated by Flexbox, and they asked Elton Julian and the team if they could replace their logo with the supporting Ukraine. Can't quite see Ben Keating ahead of him. He's going down to turn 7 now to the hairpin. And Keating is just a bit further round the track. There'll be places where if he looks across the track, he might be able to see Keating. He'll be getting some information from his team, of course, down the inside into turn number 10. Quite bumpy down there. Meantime, let's go to WeatherTech and to Shea Adam with Cooper McNeil.
Well, Cooper, is that you done in the Mercedes at this point?
Yeah, all done. It was hot out there, and spotter timing wasn't working, so didn't have any eyes behind me. Had to do it myself, which old school way, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But it just got busy a few times. But the car is clean, had no contact, had a little grass excursion on the way on the in lap, which no big deal, no harm, no foul. But yeah, we had some penalty that shouldn't have happened, but a long way to go, and we'll get it back.
Talking about the Porsche now, turning your focus to that car, how long of a break do you get before you get in the other Stuttgart-based manufacturer?
Not long enough. No, in order to not blow the 4 and 6 rule, I think I got about 2 hours out. So a little massage and some stretching, and I'll be back in.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cooper.
Shea Adam with Cooper McNeil down there. A couple of penalties to talk about. One of them that we were talking about earlier on with a car that was driving down the middle of the track when being lapped. That was the number 59 car, Shea.
Yep, penalty for blocking. That is not a penalty we ever see called really in IMSA. It's very rare. Drive-through for Crucial Motorsport and not McLaren. We've got another penalty though. Car 11, this is the blue PR1 Matheson Motorsport machine. More than the number of permitted crew members over the wall considered working on the car. That too is a drive-through.
Yeah. And we saw that earlier on, so they have been assessed. Race control looking at that all the way through. And both being served right now as in comes the Turner Motorsport Liquid Moly red, white and blue car. Had to get pushed back into its pit because they pitted right in front of the Mobil Motorsport LMP2. It's brand new Michelin tyres going on there. They actually do have the stickers on. You can always tell new Michelins because they're a little bit shiny, but they do have the stickers on. So when we say sticker tyres here, we absolutely mean it. Tyres are done, fuel hose is still in. There's going to be, I think, a tear off from the screen. Yeah, lift the rinse screen right, we'll slap it back down. The Mühlner car's almost ready to go. They're going to have to push that car back to get out. That's the number 6 prototype, the LMP comes through and down, fired and away for the Liquid Moly car. Shea has more pit stops at her end of things.
It's a single stint for Ashton Harrison in the 93 Acura for Racer's Edge. Tom Long suited and booted, ready to get in that car. We've also got the 48 Ally Racing Cadillac. That's new tires, no driver change. So clearly, Jose Maria Lopez enjoying his time behind the wheel. 21 laps for that stint. We've got the PR1 Matheson Motorsports car in the 52. This one is the Wins liveried car. There must have been a spinner out on track because a lot of people are starting to jump up on the wall at this point. But Ben Keating gets out of the 52 and hobbles over to the wall. He's done a lot of driving so far this weekend. I'll give him full credit for that, but I do need to interview him because he almost took me out leaving his pit box at one point, John. We've got Andrea Caldarelli up on the wall for the TR3 Lamborghini. That number 63 machine will be coming in here shortly. And who else did I see? Oh, the 47 was in. That's the Cheddalar Racing Ferrari. And it looked like that was a drive-through change, but I can't tell you who got in. I would imagine it's Roberto Lacorda.
They are under investigation for contact with the high-class racing number 12. Everything's happened to the high-class car. They've been booked.
Hit or be hit, which we don't know. We didn't.
Yeah, we don't know. The magnets in the carbon fiber magnets in the high-class car.
I tell you what, I think Ben Keating he's going to be one cooked hot dog when he gets out when he talks to any of our pit lane reporters, because
he may have to write it down. He might not be at the top.
I think he was struggling towards the end of that stint. He said at before the start of the race he was going to be struggling. He said it was going to be super hard out there, which it is, and yeah, he's going to be pretty tired.
So that means that Sebastian Montoya has taken over the lead of that category, but he must be due a stop in about 3 laps time. Yeah, round about 3 laps time for Sebastian Montoya. It's Scott Huffaker who's taken over what was the pole sitting car. In fact, Sebastian Montoya is into the pit lane now, so that will be a 20 lap stint for that car. Shea Adam is going to give Ben a little recovery time before she sticks a microphone under the nose. Side-by-side GT action at turn 1. 79 WeatherTech Porsche being passed by the number 24 BMW. That is Nick Yellerly in second position now after the pit stop for TR3's Lamborghini Huracan. Marco Bappelli bringing that car in.
And the sister BMW of 2025, that's just been in the pits as well. Felipe Nasser also making a pit stop in car number 9.
Fuel and tyres for the Lamborghini, the TR3 car that's been at the front of the field, and Shea Adam tells me there's a driver change there as well.
Marco Bappelli getting out, and Andrea Caldarelli is now in that car. They're just waiting on the fuel at this point. Andrea fires the car back up, waiting for the fuel nozzle, still attached. There you go.
There you go. As simple as that. And just like that, they're fueled and gone. How easy in the 79 WeatherTech Porsche at the moment? They lost a bit of ground at the start of the race. It is Alessio Pigliarello, and he is actually keeping pace with the BMW of Nick Yellerly, who's just gone by him. Let him by. He's not in the fight with that car. That's the engine you can hear behind me. Actually, you can probably more hear the straight cut gears from the gearbox than the flat 6 engine. But yeah, he's done a good job to stay with the BMW that went by a couple of laps ago. It's just gone through another hour of racing. Time for me to remind you, you're listening to IMSA Racing. It's live. It's the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship in the Mobil 1, 12 hours of Sebring from Sebring International Raceway. Sum this one up, Jeremy, in 20 words or fewer of the first 2 hours. Dramas for front-running cars, including the 01 Cadillac from Chip Ganassi Racing. Wright Motorsports Porsche, the number 16 car, has had issue. Heart of Racing Aston Martin, number 27, have had issue all within the first 5 or 10 minutes. The 23 car still in the awning at the moment and still pouring over the engine bay of that car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the technicians and mechanics and they're not working feverishly, and that's a sign to me that they still maybe have not found exactly what has been the problem with that car.
Yeah, that's certainly frustrating for those guys. The number 60 car has been onto the pit lane, out of second place with the pit stop the previous lap of number 60. Here now comes Tristan Nunez in the race-leading car. Once again, 22 lap stint for the number 31 car.
That's the Whelen Cadillac, yes.
Yep.
And 60, the Mershank racing car, I reckon that was 21 for that car.
Correct.
So spin for the NTE Lamborghini, the blue and white car. And that again is at turn number 13. Shea Adam has the pit stop for Whelen Engineering.
Fuel and tires only for this car. They do another clean of the windshield. I haven't seen a single windshield tear off down on my end of pit lane this entire race so far. We're just waiting on the fuel for Tristan Nunez as he's going out to start his second stint. We are also eagerly awaiting the yellow Corvette. I can say that now because there's only one of them in this race.
Yes, that's right. That's right. A whirlwind first couple of hours, says SportsCar 365. The guy's working very hard. You can go on to sportscar365.com to find out what's been happening. It was a hip check for the NTE Lamborghini, and that's going to have to be looked at. Side-by-side contact with a P2 car, and twice actually. I think that was the Tower car both times. Also had a little nibble at the Whelen Engineering car coming out of the pit lane. Now, whose right of way is it there, Jeremy? You're coming out of the pit lane.
It's whoever's on the racetrack. Yeah, that was really unfortunate. We've seen that in the past here. It's very, very tricky when you come out of pit lane, you make the left-hand turn there, and the cars are coming into and around turn 1 at 100 and
plenty.
Yeah, 100 and plenty. And so it's awfully difficult for the cars on the track to see a car coming out of the pit lane. And you can't blame the number 8 car there. That was John Ferrano. I don't think he did anything wrong. Here's another replay as he comes onto the racing line. And
no, he's right on the exit point. And it just happened to... Nobody can do anything at that point, Jeremy.
Because at that point, number 8 car, he's fully committed. You're fully committed through turn 1 in race trim in these cars. I mean, you can't just lift off because the car's going to snap sideways and probably spin on you. So just unfortunate.
That is absolutely the epitome of a racing incident.
Yeah.
A car's length either way, that wouldn't have happened. But John Ferrano is at the mercy of momentum and physics at that point. He's let the 31 Whelen Engineering car go through, but he's committed, as Jeremy's saying, and the car is going where the car is going. If there's a thought that it might be an idea to extend the pit lane and join in further down somewhere near turn 2 with an extra bit of, not runoff, but on that grassed area. It doesn't happen as often as you'd think it might. That is being reviewed at the moment. Of course it is. It could have been very nasty indeed. There was also, as I say, side-to-side contact with the number 42 NTE Lamborghini. Let's have a quick look again as we've just started, or just gone through at the front of the field, a set of pit stops. Good time for a VP Racing Fuels in-race update. It's Jose Maria Lopez for Ally Cadillac that leads by 4.8 seconds over Will Stevens for Konica Minolta Acura in second position. Then Whelen Engineering with Tristan Nunez, who's literally just taken over that car. Welcome to the race.
No.
Oh, no, sorry.
He rode the previous stint.
Yes, he did as well. Excuse me, yes. Welcome back to the track.
And he came into the pits, John, before the round of pit stops. He was about 4 seconds ahead of number 48 car. So,
and now he's 7 seconds behind.
Yeah, quite a bit of that was because he got put off the road on the exit there of the pit lane. But still, Lopez, having not driven this car until today at this track, he did drove course drive at Daytona. This has been a very, very impressive stint indeed by the 38-year-old Argentinian. He's taken to this like he's obviously lots of experience on this track yesterday, but in a completely different car.
And John Ferrano has been given incident responsibility with that incident, and he'll get a drive-through for that. I think that's unfortunate. I'm not sure what he was meant to do there, or what other he could have done. I presume Tristan was coming out of the pit lane.
He was.
Because he was very, if not, he was very, very wide. But yes, not sure what John could do there. I think he might be a bit miffed at that one. Sebastian Montoya leads LMP2 by 4 seconds over Scott Huffaker in the pole sitting 52. PR1 Matheson, Orica, then it's Racing Team Netherlands, Dylan Murray. He's another 2.5 seconds further back. In LMP3, Cameron Shields has a very decent lead over Kai van Berlo, who has just returned to the track in what was the pole sitting Riley Motorsports Ligier GS P320, so 38 from 74, and Milner Motorsports in that blue number 6, blue and white number 6, Alec Udell, who we've been talking about, just about 5 seconds ahead of Matt Bell in the 47 Motorsports, number 7, Duquesne. GTD Pro Corvette by 3.5 seconds from the bright green TR3 Racing Lamborghini. That's 3 from 63 from Ed Cheever III. In the recent competition, Ferrari, the number 62 car, and Marco Wittmann for BMW Team RLL, the number 24 car, is 4 seconds further back. GTD top 3, Daniel Morad for Allegra Motorsports in the Mercedes. They've taken over the lead in the number 28. Eric Janssen for Paul Miller Racing, the BMW M4 GT3, is 4.7 seconds behind. And Marvin Dienst for Winward Racing is in 3rd position in the number 57. That's your VP Racing Fuel updates. Those are the cars that are making power. 9:51 to go. And just picking off a few stories whilst I'm looking up and down the timing screen to see where the battles are starting to get interesting now. Scott Huffaker not being able to close at the moment on Sebastian Montoya. He's just stretching away at the front of the LMP2 field for Dragon Speed. I want to see what Kai van Berlo can do in the 74 Riley Ranch 74 car in LMP3. Kai coming off a very successful opening couple of rounds of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman. Number 28 Mercedes is Daniel Morad for Allegra in the red, grey and yellow car. Bit of white on that car as well. So we're waiting for this penalty to be served by John Ferrano in the number 8 car. He's coming onto the back straight now. I'm pretty pleased actually we can't listen to his radio, because as I said before, I'm sure he's going to be pretty miffed to have been called for the incident responsibility there. He was fully committed to turn 1.
Yeah, it's just sort of, there's just a blind spot there. There's
Here he comes.
Not a lot you can do. A bit unfortunate there.
Yeah.
A lot unfortunate certainly for him, but yeah, and particularly his had cars all around him as well. Just wondering what's happened to number 25 BMW. We haven't heard about that car. It's been in the pits now for a fair amount of time. It was running right up at the front in GTD Pro, but has not yet emerged from the pit lane.
It isn't in the pit lane, says Shea Adams. So has it gone behind the wall?
It's certainly not out on a racetrack then, so it must be behind the wall.
Yeah, it is showing in the pit, so it's gone behind the wall. Augusto Farfus engaged stealth mode there before he went behind the wall. Shea, where are you at the moment in the pit lane?
I'm currently behind the PR1 Matheson Motorsport box. Stephen Thomas and Ben Keating are having a bit of a debrief. Both drivers doing the double yesterday, and then starting out this weekend by, well, doing as much as they could in the opening stints of the LMP2 category. But they're currently having a very in-depth conversation. I don't want to jump in on it, John.
No, absolutely right, Shea. Absolutely right. RS2 is IMSA Radio, and we're also broadcasting around the Highlands region. WWOJ, Highlands Best Country, 99.1 FM, News Talk 7:30 AM, and the new FM frequency on 95.3, Sirius XM 206. Live video for you, the World Feed TV, IMSARadio.com. Hit the live video button if you haven't got, if your territory hasn't got a TV deal, then you'll be able to watch on there. Here in the US, it is on USA for the opening couple of hours of the race. Appreciate that you possibly can't stay with us for the whole 12 hours and might be wanting to move around. So there is an audio-only option on IMSA Radio as well, so you can take us with you. High Class and United side by side going into turn number 17. That's the 20 and 22 cars, red and white 20 and the red, white, blue 22. Huge sideways moment for Montoya through turn number 17, and somehow he caught that. That car was how do you get a car back with opposite lock when the wheels aren't on the ground, Jeremy? But he did. That was absolutely unbelievable. Fully committed into turn 17 on the power nice and early, and then the car just bunny hopped under the bridge there, and somehow Sebastian Montoya applied the air brakes, ailerons, flaps, I'm not sure, but he got the car back onto the ground and immediately caught the slide with the reflexes of a very alert kitten.
Yeah, that was quite a save, wasn't it? And, he's had to, because not too far behind him, only about 6 seconds, and actually, what's that gap done? It's extended itself a little bit over the last few laps. Over Scott Huffaker in second place. Dylan Murray, though, has closed right in on Scott Huffaker. So number 52 and 29 battling for second, third in the class.
Yeah, Scott's just done his best lap of the race, Jeremy, a 150 points middle.
Yeah, well, so has Dylan Murray, actually. They both did on the last lap, but in actual fact, Dylan Murray was a full second faster.
Wow.
49.3, that is the fastest lap of the class so far in GT, in LMP2.
Ben Keating, you're a hero. You've done 2 cars at Daytona before, but 2 cars in 2 races at Sebring. Is it really twice as hard?
It is. I think it's even harder. You know, at Daytona, you get the really long straightaway, you get a little bit of a break, and it's really cool, usually in January in Daytona. It's definitely not cool here today. And I mean, to be honest, normally I would say I struggle more in the LMP2, in the prototype, than I would in a GT car. But yesterday, in the GT car over there, I really struggled. This morning, I couldn't have dreamed of doing a triple stint. But I felt good enough in the car this morning to go ahead and try to knock out as much of my drive time as I could. But really happy with my performance. The team did an unbelievable job setting up the car. It's one of the best cars I've ever driven here. Really nice.
You're sitting here with some tape in your hand, and it's the kind of thing that you could use to repair your house, not medical tape. Doing up your hands. Blisters everywhere, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I got blisters on both my palms and both of my thumbs. So I am taping up to finish my drive time, and then I get to watch everybody else go racing.
Now, talk a little bit about that one pit stop. I know the one that you're thinking of. You were nosed into the wall, and then when you got going again, your guardian angel saved you. About a millimeter off the wall was your tail. I had to jump over the wall to make sure you weren't going to hit me. That had to be one of the most nerve-wracking moments of the race for you.
I knew it was going to be close because I was going to be on cold tires, and I needed to get a good start. I knew I had to be careful, but I actually steered into the wall so that it wouldn't whip around. So I'm sure it looked exciting, but I'll actually say I meant to do that.
Well, you took away one of Bobby Orgel's 9 lives. He was heart racing after that one.
That's not hard to do. Bobby is a nervous Nelly.
Thanks, Ben. Good luck with your final stint.
Thank you, Shay.
Ben Keating is one of my drivers of the weekend so far for what he's done. His 1 lap pace has been outstanding. and his consistency in very difficult conditions, in two very difficult to drive cars, has been brilliant. He really is upping his game. A bizarre issue for the Lexus number 14. This is the Pro car. The cars aren't painted nowadays, they are wrapped. And the wrap on the engine cover, the hood, the bonnet, call it what you will, of the car, because of the way the airflow is over the top of it and the air is managed through the front grille over the top of the engine, and there are ducts on the top of the bonnet to vent the low pressure air out from under there, and it's peeling off. I'm guessing it's the heat as well, is peeling off the wrap. So now in front of the driver, it's easy to see which car he is because his number panel is part of that, and that's flapping up into his eye line. Now the drivers sit very, very low. That is going to be a visibility problem. That'll have to be torn off, Jeremy, at the next pit stop.
It will, and that's going to be really annoying for the driver as well. It's going to be a major distraction there. You're hearing that flap, 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 flap. It's going to be a really uncomfortable feeling at the wheel of that car. As you say, visibility is going to be drastically impaired as well, and it won't do much for the aerodynamics on the straight either. So it's probably a double or triple whammy for that team. And I don't remember. I'm always amazed at technology that allows these wraps to be so efficient, but I don't remember seeing that.
They are. It is very, very thin. The whole point of wrapping a car rather than painting a car is that you don't have to keep rubbing them back and repainting them again after every event. You can patch them if you need to, and it is almost a shrink wrap. It's put on with a heat gun, and I've not seen that happen either. BMW behind the wall, we think, as the 62 Ricci Ferrari has made a pit stop. And hang on, that's good. Is that going behind the wall as well? The 62 Ferrari, the Ricci Ferrari, is very slow at the end of the pit lane, and that is leaving the pit lane as well. Shea Adam, two of the GTD Pro main protagonists, behind the wall, and you're with Augusto Farfus at BMW.
Yeah, and Augusto, you got a little bit extra of a workout today when the car was out on track. What happened to it?
Yeah, we had a power steering failure, and I mean, the way these current cars are designed is simply impossible to do even a single lap without power steering. It's a shame. We came far away from since Daytona. We really managed to get the car into the window, and I think we were just in the mix. It would have been nice to just have brought the car today.
I'm sorry about that. Hey, come back for Watkins, okay?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, still managed to smile. So Ricci Competizione behind the wall as well, Shea. That's given you something else. I bet that's at the opposite end of the pit lane, isn't it, Shea?
No, actually quite usefully. It's only a couple boxes down, so I should be up to them in about 2 minutes.
That's taking them out of the fight. They had been losing a bit of pace. We've not seen the safety car yet, Jeremy. We've been green for the whole of the race so far. A couple of local yellows, but that is all. I'm going to see it. Listen, if it's more than 5 laps afterwards, I think I'm safe. We've still got the battle going on between United Autosport and the number 20 high-class racing car in LMP2, and that is the battle for 7th and 8th. It's Fabio Scherer in the high-class car, and sorry, 6th and 7th. Fabio Scherer in the high-class car, and Duncan Tappy for United Autosports. Duncan Tappy, I remember commentating on him in, that would have been Formula Renault. Tim Gray is our junior single-seater expert back in the UK, so he'll tell me. It was on the British Touring Car support. Leaving with equipment attached, drive-through for the Tower number 8 car, and that was John Ferrano getting back in after Louis Delatraz has done a stint. And Shea Adam has news. This is extraordinary. The amount of problems that we've had today already. Ricci Competizione, Shea.
Power steering for them as well.
So that's the BMW number 25 and the 62 Ferrari, both going out with power steering. We've had Wright with a diff problem, a differential problem. We've had an engine problem for the number 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin and the 01 Chip Ganassi Cadillac. These are big teams, Jeremy. We don't expect to see these unreliability issues. We've got used to these cars being tremendously reliable. This is old school endurance racing.
Yeah, being bulletproof, haven't we? You're absolutely right. So major surprise to see all these dramas in the still relatively early stages of this race. And I guess they're being shaken around so much here that even components like the power steering box are having difficulties.
Well, Risi have not raced a GT3 car here, of course, and Sebring does break things, but we haven't done a 2-hour, 40-minute normal IMSA race length yet. That is extraordinary. In for the number 5. This is the Cadillac of Mustang sampling. Richard Westbrook brought the car in.
Yeah, you're not getting Westy out of that car after only one stint. You got fuel tires, a nice windshield clean. They even use the liquid. I've seen mostly it's just been like napkins, well, not napkins, but fancy paper towels that were dry to clean the windscreens. But no, Westy got a little shot of, well, it's not Windex, but you know what I mean. And 4 new Michelin tires. So that was a good stop for Mustang sampling. They're just going about their business, nice and quiet.
Yeah, sitting in 4th position when they came in. So that starts the next round of DPI pit stops. They are the first one to come in. Next will be the Konica Minolta Acura in 2nd position, but they're about 4 laps away. Then after that, it will be Jose Maria Lopez in the lead, Ally Cadillac. They're about 7 laps away. And then 8 and 9 laps away, respectively, the 60 MSR Acura and the 02, the remaining Chip Ganassi Cadillac for Neil Yanni. So that's the order that they come in. JDC Miller Motorsports, the number 5 Mustang sampling car, and then the Konica Minolta Cadillac. Shit.
See something I don't like. Sorry, I would have elaborated more, but I see it's a very familiar sight. There's an Aston Martin sitting in its pit box forlornly in the pit lane. I know the 27 just made a stop not too very long ago, and Roman DeAngelis got in for Ian James, and Jeremy will be able to say if I'm just imagining that wasn't very long ago. But the car is up on its high stance, and they're putting the left rear tire back on, but Roman is sitting in the car, swinging the door. This car's been in here for a couple of laps now, hasn't it?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes, it has, and it's dropping down the timing screen. So that's both the Hunter Racing cars that have had issues. Still the flapping wrap, the wrapping flap is got to be careful how we say that. That could get me taken off air. On the number 14 Lexus, huge crowd. Pretty much every square foot, meter, yard, whatever you measure things by, taking up on the infield. All the new parking down driver's left of the Ullman straight has been taken up. There's some new RV parking there, and people hanging on the fences 2 and 3 deep pretty much all the way around. It's been a huge festival of endurance racing. Started last weekend with the prologue, and there was a few people here then. But then from Tuesday onwards, my goodness me, the new double drive-over bridge, the Corvette drive-over bridge just coming out of turn 6 has seen a lot of work. That's been a really massive improvement to access to the infield, allowing people to go in and out whilst the race is on. And why would you want to leave at the moment with still 9 hours and 35 minutes to go? Jeremy Shaw, John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Racing, the Haggerty Global Broadcast booth. Shea Adam in the pit lane has spoken to Heart of Racing with that 27 car.
They changed the battery, but they're not entirely sure that was the only issue out on the racetrack. So they're going to send Roman back out here in a moment. He's currently looking at different settings on the dash and trying to recycle the system. There we go. Now the car fires up. It's still on its jacks, though. They've got to be careful that it doesn't have any sort of wheel spin. There we go. Off the air jacks, still plugged in. And at least it's fired up. It sounds okay. Hopefully I don't see this Aston Martin for a little while.
Seems reasonable, Shea. Just a note from a couple of people, including Alan Prosser, reminding us that they had the number 71 Ferrari yesterday had power steering issues. Now, okay, that's a GTE car, or GT Le Mans, as we used to call call them here in IMSA. But the GT3 and the GTE are pretty much interchangeable in terms of the categories. It's an upgrade kit that you can get for your GT3. And I wonder, after that problem for the number 71 AF Corsa car, are we seeing the same thing on the Risi car today? Thanks, Alan, for reminding me of that. Also, Marcel Duc saying the P3 suffering, the LMP3 suffering from electronic issues. 38. The number 38 car has already only got one headlight. Sebring the car breaker.
Yeah, and yeah, that's not an issue. It's not, you're not going to get penalised for that as you would have been in the World Endurance Championship. Correct. But certainly isn't going to make life any easier later in the day.
The worry is that the other one goes out, and then you have to come in.
That's true too. A good battle going on now for the lead in GTD. Super job by Daniel Mored for Allegra Motorsports in car number 28. That's Mercedes that leads at the moment, heading into turn 3. But closing in now in second position is the number 1 BMW for Paul Miller Racing. That's Eric Johansson, the young Swede driving that car. He is his first race in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Of course, that team unable to race at Daytona because they didn't have a car, having switched from Lamborghini to BMW for this season. Eric Johansson has joined this squad for the year for the long distance races alongside Madison Snow and Brian Sellers. But Eric does have experience here at Sebring. He raced here last year in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America and had a pretty reasonable top 10 finish in that. So he does have some experience here.
Young Sebastian Montoya has just reset the fastest lap in the LMP2 category. Not last time around, but the time before. Dragon speed number 81, 149.0. That's a full 3/10 faster than anyone else has done. There's plenty of speed left in that Dragon speed car, Shay.
There's not a lot of speed left in the harder racing car right now. Unfortunately, they changed the battery and it still wasn't charging. That's why they had Roman DeAngelis turn the car back off, and now it is behind the wall back in the garage. At this point, it could be the alternator, and if it's the alternator, it could be anything. Wiring, it just goes on and on from there. So both of the harder racing Aston Martins are currently back in the garage.
Fastest lap of the race by the 6th place car, in actual fact, Richard Westbrook. We heard from Tristan Vautier earlier on. We thought he was struggling the first stint of the race. Indeed he was, because the team elected, rather than change tyres on that car, they want to make sure they got 24 sets of tyres for the entire race week. They didn't want to use up another set at the start of the race, so they started Tristan on the set in which he had the accident in qualifying on whenever that was, yesterday morning. So he was struggling, but since then the car has come alive, and now Richard Westbrook, even though he's a fair way back, is just set the new fastest lap of the race, 147.444 in the number 5 Mustang sampling JDC Miller Motorsports entry. Once again, the lap record around here of 46.1. It's pretty hot and sticky today, so I wouldn't expect that lap time to be the record lap to be challenged today, but who knows?
Well, if we keep thinning the cars out like this, by the time we get to the cooler temperatures, it'll be like a qualifying session. We might actually get a little happy hour around about, what, 7:30, 8 o'clock, when the sun's just starting, no, just going down. I think it's just after 7:30, the official sunset tonight. So 6:15, 6:40. 7:15 to 7:45 or 8 o'clock tonight might be the time. Particularly if we have a intervention from the safety car at that time, and the cars at the front of the field get a couple of laps without traffic. Sebastian Montoya talking about traffic. He's in it. Turn 15 and 16 goes past the crucial McLaren. He's very, very decisive. I mean, the way the body language of the car, he gets into those places. He's leaving the cars that he's putting a lap on absolutely in no doubt, Jeremy, that he's coming through. There's nothing half-hearted about young Montoya here. And in point of fact, you have to do that, because if you dither, that's when things can go wrong. He's learned that very, very quickly.
Yeah, you'd rarely see a Montoya dithering, do you?
That's a fair point, well made, Jeremy. Yes, yes.
But no, it's been a massively impressive stint here for Sebastian, and Dad must be really, really proud here. In fact, Dad's got. He's got, when he gets at the wheel of that number 81 car, he's got a pretty tough act to follow, because Sebastian has taken that car to the lead. He's pulled away. He's got 18 seconds in hand now over Scott Huffaker in number 52 car. We've just seen a pit stop for number 29. That's the Racing Team Netherlands car. So Guido van der Garde has taken over from Dylan Murray, who again did a really, really good stint, the young Georgian.
So Juan Montoya, yeah. So are you the fastest Colombian endurance driver? I'm not even the fastest in our house, mate. That's, you know, that day is coming, Juan. That day is coming. I mean, Sebastian, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have any multi-class racing experience. So all of that is very, very good. Right, some good news. 2 times good news. We have the 01 Cadillac from behind the wall. We have the 52 coming back from behind the wall as well after the trials and tribulations for PR1 Matheson Motorsport. The Ben Keating car, that car had gone behind the wall and into the pit lane. Spot on time is the number 10 Connington Minolta Acura. Will Stevens is, well, he's pulled the car up next to Shea Adam. Is he getting out, Shea?
No, he doesn't want to talk to me just quite yet. He realizes that's what's waiting once he jumps out of this Acura. So Will going for another stint, another set of sticker Michelins on this Acura. Beautiful pit stop by the boys in blue and black. Also into the pits, we've got the 12 Lexus. Sorry, it took me a second there to realize which one it was. Richard Highstand climbing aboard that car. That is the GTD entered for Vassar Sullivan. And yes, as you rightly say, Reese is back on the racetrack. The 62 rumbled straight out, did not stomp in its box. Neither did the 01 Cadillac Racing entrant. So both of those cars have made their form of redemption.
Yes, sorry, I said 52. You're absolutely right, Shea. It was 62. Yeah, I know. If I'm getting that confused with just an hour and a half gone, we're in trouble for the rest of the race. Thank you, Shea, for putting us right. What an hour and a half. We pack more into that than many series do in a full season. The Lexus that came in, by the way, was the one that still had all of its livery intact on the bonnet. We're still waiting to see the number 14 coming carbon, and the Lamborghini back from behind the wall. That was the overheating machine that stopped out at turn 8 earlier on. Robert McGuinness is officially back in the pit lane, and they'll fuel that at their pit and send it, hopefully. So they've managed to clean off the condensation in the windows, and Shea can see into the cockpit as Robert McGuinness will rejoin. The number 66 Gradient Acura with Mark Miller calling the strategy on that car today. Mark, who was a real great addition to our WEC coverage yesterday here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast booth. Mark available for drives, he says. He's doing an awful lot of driver coaching and strategy at the moment, but he still wants to get back behind the wheel. And Given Simpson with a new personal best in that car, 2:02.750. Meantime, at the front of GTD Pro, Corvette versus Lamborghini. The battle of the Fruit Loops with very yellow and very green cars coming through the early part of the lap under the crossover bridge and down towards the hotel. Corvette a little bit longer between the wheels than the Lamborghini. You see that from the aerial shots that we're getting here in the booth, and thanks to all our camera operators again for allowing us to see around the circuit. Our colleagues at NASCAR Productions in Charlotte beaming us the pictures back. That battle has just been split for a moment as on cue well, maybe one lap short actually for Jose Maria Lopez. Shea Adam, you've got the Ally Cadillac with you.
Old habits die hard. Jose Maria Lopez out of the Cadillac, and he shuts off the engine for the pit stop, which is something you have to do in the WEC, not something you have to do in IMSA. So the 48 is up on the high stands, getting fuel and 4 new tires. And oh yeah, Kamui Kobayashi put behind the wheel this one. They did use just rags, just neoprene rags to clean off the windshield. No liquid assistance for this pit stop. Now telling Kamui to fire it back up. He's not firing it back up yet. Fuel probe has been out for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, tons of time lost on this pit stop. But the good news for them, they've installed Kamui Kobayashi, who can find time.
So the next of the prototypes at the front of the field to come in should be Ollie Jarvis. He's on his 18th lap of roundabout 20. Neil Janney's just clicked onto his 18th lap on the 02 Cadillac as well. So this top of the field, Jeremy, just slightly split up at the moment in their pit strategy. Couple of 3 laps here and there. And that is why the lead keeps changing at the sharp end of the field.
Indeed so, and interesting there that Kobayashi, that's his first time aboard that car this week, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Because he had a great run here last year, finished second in this race, second on the road, third on the road perhaps last year, until they had a drive time penalty. One of the drivers, I think it was Simon Pagenaud, had driven a little bit too much, I think it was, if I remember correctly. Anyhow, there's a drive time penalty put them to the back of the field, but they had a really good run here 1 year ago. So he's got experience in this car on this racetrack. He's driven this car already, of course, this year at Daytona, but maybe it's an unfamiliarity there. You don't want to be giving away time at any stage during this race, and that losing that several pit stops there, and also wheel rotation while elevated, drive-through penalty for car number 48. Again, that just
2 penalties for the 48.
And a pit lane speed light violation. There you go. That's exactly why you don't want to do what that team has done. Have that driver not drive the car until the race. Chad Knaus, of course, is the strategist on that team. And I've said all along, I think that was a weird decision not to have your drivers not drive the car until the race. Is coming back to bite them right now. That was one time to make it up, but still.
Yeah, our Porsche keys to the race. No mistakes or penalties. Still a long time to make it up, but 2 there for the 48. Remember, Jose Maria Lopez did shut the engine off, but maybe not quick enough. I always think when you're doing a driver change, it's much better to turn the engine off. It's too easy for you to catch the throttle when you're jumping in, no matter how many times that you do it. So here's the first of 2 drive-throughs for the Ally Cadillac. That's going to drop that car right down. Shea Adam, in the meantime, you've got more standard pit stops.
I had the 60 Meyershank Racing Actor into the pit lane, and for the first time today, I've seen a windshield tear off. That was also a driver change, as now we've got Stoffel Van Doorn, IMSA driver. That's kind of cool to say. He's behind the wheel of the car. Ollie Jarvis is out.
I heard some squealing Michelin tyres a moment ago from our effects mic. It was over at I think turn number 10, and Ari Berlock had a little off-course moment in the number 30 Junior 3 Racing Airbnb Ligier in LMP3. He has recovered and continued. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us, good to have your company. RS2 is the home of IMSA Radio, www.imsaradio.com. And if you're in a territory that does not have a live TV feed, you can get the world feed by hitting the live video tab there. We're also around the area here in Central Florida, thanks to our local radio syndications, principally on Highlands Best Country, WWOJ 99.1 FM, and also on News Talk 7:30 AM and their new 95.3 FM frequency, as well as Sirius XM 206. Plenty of ways to keep in touch in sound and vision for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship and the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advance Auto Parts. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre, as Shea Adam has the remaining in contention Chip Ganassi Cadillac. That's the 0-2 in the pit lane.
Neil Yanni giving over his car to Earl Bamber. No, it's not a Porsche, it's a Cadillac. And it is Bam Bam time. 4 new Michelins going on this car. Now, they didn't have 24 sets of tires to start the week, but a couple of the DPI teams did express to me slight concern over being able to have new tires for every stop. I haven't seen any form of a scrubbed rubber going on the cars, but I would expect that to come when the temperatures are a little bit cooler, because the conditions as they are right now are quite brutal, as the front left tire threw his gun into the ankle of Morrow, our camera guy extraordinaire. That was a little bit rude, but that pit stop was done, and it was done just in time to be able to send the car and then welcome in the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, which also will be a driver change. Tristan Nunez out, Mike Conway getting in, another one of the Toyota drivers who's been unable to participate in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship sessions until now, but Mike has a lot more experience in this championship than Jose Maria Lopez. Jose's only done 1 start. Mike's raced here many times before, including with this team, so it's very familiar for him. Waiting on the fuel at this point. Ooh, another windshield tear-off. Very nicely done pit stop by Whelen Engineering.
Oh, just waited to hear the engine go up. Thank you, Shane. Perfectly left your mic open for that down in the pit lane. Pits are closed because we've got a car off. It's Sebastian Montoya who's been doing...
No, it's
not.
JP.
It's Juan Pablo Montoya. It's dad gone off, trying to go as quick as son, maybe. Don't know. But JP has had an incident with the Milner Motorsport H&R sponsored car. This is at turn number 1. There's a lot of debris on the circuit there, and only one line through there. So the number 6 Milner Motorsport car, contact for Alec Udell and JPM, and that was the leader. That was the leader in LMP2. Pits are closed. Debris on track at turn 1. Actually, I haven't seen the pits closed on the... but they definitely are. So this is another gaggle of cars without... Here comes the... oh, it was a spin. Was that a tyre went down? I think that was maybe a tyre issue for the Milner car, because that car snapped at the very end of the corner. And then Montoya has hit one of the GT cars in avoidance there. Whole gaggle of cars coming through. Tower Motorsports car going off the track.
GTD leader also
it's
there.
The Paul Miller car that got a good clonk on the rear, and Montoya's car's going nowhere. Both sides of the steering is broken. Absolutely nothing JPM could do there. The high-class car has entered a closed pit. That was emergency service, 5 seconds of fuel. That was good that they got that done immediately there. That was a heads-up thing.
And the 31 team was lucky there. They got in just before that caution came out. On schedule pit stop for our race leader, car number 31.
News from Mark Miller down at Gradient. He's doing the strategy for that car. Till Beckelsheim, double stint at the beginning. So good that Andres Levins, the team boss, actually smiled, which he normally doesn't do during a race. Mark's telling us. Thank you, Mark, for that, and thanks for your hard work yesterday. JPM is absolutely gutted. He's looking at the front end of that car. It's both front suspension and steering components, both sides, and that's gone. That was a very, very odd incident for Alec Udell. He committed to the corner and looked like maybe he was slowing down. He was not on the usual racing line. He was over to the left-hand side, and the car snapped as he was coming out the corner. It didn't look like he was running that wide, Jeremy. That's what I thought.
Well, he kind of lost it before he got to the wall. It started to spin as around about he got to the apex, I think. Don't know. Let's have another look at that one. But really unfortunate. I mean, it just happened to be a whole gaggle of cars behind him. Everybody taking avoiding action. And poor JPM, he had somebody on his inside, somebody on his outside. Absolutely nothing he could do.
Yeah, and Alec Udell right in front of him. And
yeah, backwards. Yeah.
It was the number 1 BMW, the Paul Miller car, actually did manage to stop without hitting Alec Udell for Eric Johansson, but then got a tap from behind for his troubles. That's annoying for Elton Julian and his team. They were running very, very well indeed. The Cadillac was coming out the pits. That, I don't think, was a factor. The blue and white car comes in.
Yes, online, all of a sudden just swaps ends, isn't it?
Yeah, I was wanting to see the right rear tyre on that car to see if something had happened there, because yes, it was on the bumps.
I tell you what could have happened. He could have been distracted by
the
watching
Cadillac.
that car coming out of the pit lane
and just pinched it a little bit.
Well, just lifted off a bit. And we talked about it earlier on with that when I think it was Louis. It must have been Louis Delastraz driving that in the brake car earlier on, I think. But the tower car earlier on.
It was John Ferrano.
Well, it was shown to him, but then it was shown as Delastraz out on the track. So I don't know exactly who it was.
Left rear puncture for the Paul Miller racing car, so that car will be allowed to come in for emergency service, although the pits are closed.
Golly.
Sebastian Montoya, very, very disappointed by that. He's put a lot of hard work in, and, you know, hands the car over to his dad, and it's in perfect condition. His dad's going to say, nothing I could do, son. Nowhere to go.
No, and that was, I tell you, it was just awful luck for them. And of course, the Paul Miller BMW, absolutely nothing they could have done either. This is really good news for Kamui Kobayashi, number 48 team, because having served those 2 drive-through penalties,
they're going to lose nothing.
They were able to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah.
And so they're in great shape now. Number 02 car stays on the lead lap as well.
Here comes the Paul Miller racing car with Eric Johansson behind the wheel. First full course caution, first intervention by the safety car. And so we had the run from the start all the way through. So 2 hours and 45 minutes, give or take. So a full race. Suspension damage, I'd say, on the left rear of the Paul Miller car, because I know they run a lot of camber on the back wheels, but not as much as I'm seeing now. There's also a puncture there as well. That could be easily fixed, but I think they might need a toe link on the left rear. That Shea's on her way down. They might even take that car straight behind the wall, Shea. It may actually run. Oh, its pit is right down and pit out. So if they're going to go behind the wall, they've got to turn before their pit, bizarrely, because they're so far down. And they have come to the box.
Yep.
Shea?
They made it into the box. Just walking around the left side of the car, because that's where the damage is. They're going to pull the wheel off. Yeah, I think the suspension is broken, and right as you said, the toe link, because the wheel is actually angled forward. Going to pull the old one off, just keeping a wary eye down the pit lane in end of things. We are still under pit closed conditions, but this is emergency service because the car is not in a condition to be able to drive right now, so it wouldn't be safe to send it back out around the circuit. Little bit of bodywork damage, but not as much as I was expecting, having seen that replay. They've got Justin and Richie going to work on it, I believe. There's a G who's in there, but pulling little bits out. They're putting a new tire on. All right, now here's the $5 million question. Is it to go back out on the track or to go back behind the wall? And now they've actually got, they got a wet weather tire, so they're going to put a roller on it and go back behind the wall.
Yeah, good spot, a good spot there, Shea, because they don't want to damage one of their slick tyre allocations with that rear suspension being as bad as it is. They'll push it backwards. The gap behind them, the gap to the paddock is behind them, but they will be allowed to push that. You can't drive it back. In fact, actually, there is another exit from the pit lane. I didn't realise that there's one in front of them as well. So Eric will be able to get that car off the pit lane. But that is very bad news for the car. Another car, Jeremy, that was in contention. 2 more cars that were in contention, because you've got to say the 81 prototype, the Dragon Speed car, was right there. It was leading its class at the time, and the number 1 BMW had been leading its class. So 2 major contenders again caught up, and actually with nothing that either of those 2 cars could do about it.
No, it's a function of the racetrack here at Sebring. I'm afraid that pit exit, it's notoriously dangerous here, and they've tried to make things a little bit easier by extending. You can't turn left to get back onto the racetrack coming out of the pit lane until much further down than used to be the case. So you now have to make a sharp turn effectively after the pit exit to get back on the racetrack. At that point, the thinking is, if you look to your left, which you should be doing, you can see which cars are coming into the corner and judge yourself from there. But it's just really tricky. It always has been, and it always will be. And that was
the number 6 Mjolnir Motorsport LMP3 machine. Alec Udell still driving it. Did manage to get back to the pit lane, but that too has now gone back behind the wall.
Well, we have a wee moment to bring in a guest here into the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, and delighted to say Tommy Milner is with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That was some opening. Even 5 minutes. We had more cars in the pit lane in the first 5 minutes than we normally have in the first hour. From your point of view, tell us how the Corvette's been going. Good start, made up some positions, now running at the front of the pack.
Yeah, it looks very good right now. Looks like the pace of the car is pretty good. Looks like the Lamborghini there is quite quick. The Ferrari was quick as well, but they've had some trouble as well. So looks like they're going maybe a lap longer on their stint, which I think is playing to their advantage there. So far so good, but in IMSA, you know, these cautions like this bunch everyone back up again and leaves you with some pretty good racing.
You got a mid-event performance break, a little bit bigger restrictor, probably somewhere near 20 horsepower. You'll feel that all right.
Yeah, certainly. I haven't spoken to the guys in the 3 car this weekend about the difference there, but just looking at the lap times, it was obviously got them much closer in the ballpark, and it looks like based on the start of the race here that it's put them kind of where they needed to be competitive in the class.
Talk about what happened yesterday in a moment. We've got the DPIs coming in. Stay with us, Tommy, if you don't mind. Tommy in the WEC, of course, with Nick Tandy for the season, the first full season entry to the WEC by Corvette Racing. Let's get the DPIs. The pits are open. Shea Adam is open for business as well at the pit out end of things.
Excuse me? Well, Mike Conway stayed out on the racetrack. We've got the 2 Acura DPIs in. No driver change going on for either of them. Stoffel got in fairly recently. He is taking fuel only. We've got fuel only for the Konica Minolta Cadillac. Fuel and tires for the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac. I called the 10 a Cadillac, didn't I? That's an Acura. That is going to be fuel and tires for the number 5. No driver change. Yes, I know. $1 in the jar. Fuel only for the number 2 Cadillac as well. And the nose is off for the Ally Cadillac. That's the one that had to serve the 2 drive-through penalties. They're losing time now, but the good news is still behind the safety car, so they're not losing position.
Looked like they might have been making a little suspension adjustment on the front of that car before the nose went back on. Tommy Milner is with us from the FIA WEC Cadillac C8R. DPI's been held at the end of the pit lane till the line went through. Well, how does it feel then doing a World Championship for the first time for Corvette?
It's been great so far. The prologue that we had, and then the race really kind of went as good as it possibly could have, I think, for us. The crew is obviously most of the same guys from last year with Corvette Racing, but first time kind of all together, first time with FIA WC regs and everything, and really had no issues with the car, no penalties in pit lane, you know, all these things after all these years of racing in IMSA.
Very good point.
Obviously, it's the same rules as Le Mans, but you know, being here at Sebring, it kind of still feels normal for us to be here. So
and actually, as a wild card, the team have done Spa before as well. They did Spa last. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, last year, correct.
Yeah. So you're up to Le Mans. There's kind of some experience there, but then Monza, which you've not done before. You've got to be looking forward to the Cathedral of Speed.
Absolutely. That was, for me, the option was given to me last year. Do I want to race in IMSA or WC? And I told the team, it's up to you guys. You guys decide. It's up for Chevrolet to decide where they want to place their drivers. But I was sort of put under the gun there again. They said, well, if you had to pick today, only pick one. Which one is it? And I said WC, just because the chance to drive these Corvettes around the world at Spa, at Monza, at Fuji, Bahrain will be special as well. That was something that I couldn't turn down.
You love Monza. You need to speak to Ollie Gavin, obviously. And
who? Just kidding.
Do you remember him? I think sometime in the past he used to be a racing driver.
I'm just kidding.
You need to do a road trip with Gavin, because he has got some road-going Corvettes that he could let you have a go. Lovely drive down there. Fuji, you're going to absolutely adore. You are going to really adore the whole ethos of the country. It's a different culture completely, and the circuit and the fans are so enthusiastic there.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I all of these events already, and even here at Sebring, even so we were at Sebring, and that was kind of best case scenario, right? I think for us as a team to come somewhere familiar with the car, tires, everything, we kind of knew what to expect. You know, it was great just to kind of get our feet wet here at Sebring and before we go off to the rest of the world.
The point is, as the number 3 Corvette, the GTD Corvette comes in, same car as Tommy would drive, but it's been engineered to a GT3 kind of pace. Corvette is a global brand, of course. It is one of the few. If you look at cars and models, Corvette is one of the few major brands that is a global entity.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this new C8 now being offered in a right-hand drive version.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you so much.
More than ever now, this car is available to everybody around the world, and designed for everybody around the world as well. So, you know, I think there's a perfect opportunity for Corvette Racing to go around the world with this car and showcase what it can do.
Come back here in just a second, Tommy. We've got the GTD pit stop. Shea Adam is watching those. It was Corvette in first and Corvette out first, Shea.
Yeah, very good stop for the Corvette Racing team. Down further in the pit lane in the GTD span of things, we've got Bill Oberlin into the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW, his 500th start for BMW. They gave him fuel and tires, just waiting on the fueling to finish. We've also got a driver change for Crucial Motorsport, but I can't see who's getting into that one. Radiant Racing has done fuel and tires, and I think that's still Kevin Simpson's helmet behind the wheel. Both of the Ferraris were in as well. It was a driver change for the 47 Cheddalar Racing, but it was also a driver change for the 21A. Of course, and why is this significant? Because Simon Mann is now driving that race car.
Thank you, Shea. That's another hour almost completed. We'll give you our VP Racing in-race rundown in a moment. We've got Tommy Milner with us from the WEC Corvette Racing team. Corvette in first and out first. That's kind of what you expect from Corvette Racing. I remember back to the days of pit stop challenges, and I think out of the 4 or 5 years we did it, one or other of the Corvette crews won it all bar 1 year. You guys work on that.
They do, and I will say that 1 year was my dad's team that year that beat Corvette Racing. So my dad still has the I think it was Klein tools at the time.
It was well remembered.
Yeah, they have. He's got the big check there for $10,000 still in his garage there at home. So, yeah, I mean,
well,
certainly.
I'll tell you what though, if you're going to beat the guys at Corvette Racing in a pit stop, that is something worth keeping, isn't it? Because they do work so hard.
I think, you know, for my dad, obviously, the drivers obviously get a lot of the attention on race wins and things like that, and trophies all go to drivers. But, you know, from my dad and being so close to all these crew guys for so long, you know, that was a win that the whole team could really sort of share and enjoy. And I think one of the victories that my dad is probably most proud of, let's say, because of all the hard work that goes into that to beat those Corvette guys, yeah, just to give those crew guys some glory finally.
Just a bit of good news for Aston Martin supporters. The number 27 Heart of Racing team, Roman De Angelis, Ian James and Tom Gamble. That car has come out from behind the wall. Both of their cars were behind the wall until that one has returned. There's been plenty of drama and an unusual amount of issues, mechanical issues. Obviously, we've now had some caused by contact after that. Well, chaos, frankly, in the first corner. I was trying to think of a more pleasant word than that, but that was chaos at the first corner. Tough first corner here, Tommy, to be fair, because if you are coming out the pits, you can't see over your right shoulder, you're blending in, and unfortunately, at some stage, you're going to be exactly where someone who's already committed to turn one needs to be as they unwind the lock and let the car drift out.
Yeah, I mean, for both cars, it's frustrating for sure, because as you're coming out of pit lane, you can see the cars coming, usually out of your mirror, and usually the team can tell you, hey, there's 2 cars coming, 1 car coming. But once you make the left just out of the pit lane there, you are completely unsighted until that pinch point right there at the curb of the exit. And you hope that the guy that's on the racetrack sees you if it's that close. And if you're the guy on the racetrack, you're hoping that you just sneak in front of them before they actually merge again. So it is very, very difficult. And in these race cars and in the GT cars with all the head restraint stuff that you have, it does make it very hard to see.
But explain to our viewers and listeners, though, it's not like being in a straight car where you can see that unfolding and you can lift off or brake, because you are so committed and the car is so on the ragged edge on those bumps that even lifting off can actually make the situation worse.
Yeah, definitely. And what's tough about turn 1 is the bumps. As you run your race line, as you get comfortable driving the car in the same place all the time, you know what to expect from the bumps. If you change your line, all of a sudden the bump might be 10 times worse, 2 feet off of your normal racing line, and that upsets the car, like you said. So it's just classic Sebring with these bumps like this, and certain parts of the racetrack where you really, really understand what the car is going to do. Same in 17 and other places just like that, where in 17, if you have to change your line for traffic and things like that, you can really get yourself in trouble.
What's next for you then, Tommy? You got a bit of a break before you're racing again, but again, what's going on behind the scenes? Is the WEC program going to decant to Europe for Spa and then Le Mans and then Monza?
So right now, for me as a driver, there's very little testing. Basically, the cars will all get shipped to Larborough Racing shop in France there, where the guys will go just before, probably 2 weeks before the Spa race, and kind of do the final prep and get ready. We have some simulator testing coming up as well. That'll be great for me to get some time in the Corvette. I've never driven Spa. Never driven Spa, never driven Monza, Fuji, Bahrain. So
you're gonna love Spa.
I can't wait. I mean, that of all the racetracks, the one that really kind of drew me the most to do WEC was that racetrack. So I'm definitely
New Spa as well, because there's some slight changes coming down to Eau Rouge and over the top of Radillon.
I've seen that. Hopefully it doesn't change the character of the corner too much, because that's always one of the most famous sequence of corners in all of racing. It looks like it's the same elevation. It looks just as fast probably as it always was. So
there is some on board from a test day on the web if you want to have a look at that. I've only ever driven Spa in my straight car, and which is an old 968 Porsche. It's brilliant. I don't normally do track days and fast laps and stuff like that, but I got the chance, and same as you're not going to turn down. Would you like to have 5 laps around Spa at the end of the day? I'll just go get the keys. You're not going to turn that down, are you?
No, of course not. And like you said, I think it's kind of the same feeling that I had when I had the chance to do that race this year. I think that was the one that kind of drew me the most to do WEC. So I'm excited for it. It's definitely going to be a big challenge. We have, obviously, the team has some data from last year, which will be helpful. Have some onboard video that I can watch as well. And it does sound like from last year, it's tricky with WEC. You're limited on tire sets.
Yes.
So that makes the race not quite as straightforward as it might be here in IMSA.
Are they still using the same range of Michelin tyres in the WEC this year as you guys were using the last time you ran that car as a GT LM, as it would have been over here in the States?
So it's new compound tires for us, construction and compound tire this year. So for us, for both Nick and I, it was the first chance that we had to try these tires was at the Prologue. So luckily, all the testing, which ironically, Jordan and Antonio did all the tire testing for that. So thanks to those guys for doing a great job with picking the compound and construction for us. There's nothing wrong with the Michelin customer tire. They last a long time, but there's something definitely special about those confidential tires that we get.
And you can mix and match them as well. You certainly could here. I think you get three choices of slick?
Yes. So yeah, exactly. There's 3 total options in the confidential range for us. Most tracks, like here at Sebring, there was only 2 that were available to us that were even worth running. So and the way Michelin does it with their tire compounds is not your typical, as you would expect, a soft being one that has way more grip but just falls off faster. They design the tires to work in a temperature range. So so
they call them cool, medium, and hot, don't they? Rather than soft, medium, and hard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So the medium tire, if it's a warm day, would be the preferred tire. It'll be faster and last longer than the soft would. So. And that's data that we didn't have from testing that we kind of needed to get here in the prologue, and then it's a lot of data that this team has to kind of go through and understand of what the crossover points are and track temp and things like that. So it's a lot to learn, but we can still go off of past information.
Tommy, thanks for being with us. Absolutely brilliant. Wish you all the best for the season. We'll see you at Le Mans as well. Might even see you at Spa. I hope I can get to see you at Spa because I want to see how broad that smile is when you get out of your first laps. Tommy Miller from Corvette Racing in the WEC this year. Ryan Smith, thank you very much for bringing him over to the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Joe Bradley down in the pit lane with Jose Maria Lopez.
Jose, firstly, after yesterday's spectacular crash, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm ready for fight another day. So yeah, it was tough. Yeah, I'm actually great. I mean, of course, sorry for what happened, but yeah, today's another day, another chance to fight. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a different race altogether. It's great to see you out in the car, in the Ally car. Tell us, how did that go?
It did go pretty well. I think we just got with Kamui 4 laps this morning. We didn't run on the week. Yeah, I started to build up the pace and managed to get back in the lead. And yeah, the car felt great. It's a long way to go, but important that I was feeling very comfortable with the car. And I think we have a car to fight, so that's very important.
Great, thanks, Jose. Glad to see you back. Jose Maria Lopez back behind the wheel.
And just at the end of that, you heard the engine notes rise, and that's because we've gone to green. Thanks to Tommy Milner from Corvette Racing in the WEC, and to Jose Maria Lopez there as well. Just under 9 hours to go. Restart was nice and clean, and at the front of the field, Mike Conway led them away in the 31, the red and white Whelen Engineering car. A little bit of a wiggle as he goes through turn number 10. Stoffel Van Dorn behind him, and then Will Stevens, Richard Westbrook. So that's 30-60, Whelen Engineering Cadillac, MSR Acura, Konica Minolta Acura is the 10. Richard Westbrook, JDC Miller Motorsports, the number 5, that's the black and gold car. Then Earl Bamber in the car for the 02, that's the black car with the red rear end. Then the Allied Cadillac Kamui Kobayashi in 6th position. Now all of those back together again, and as Jeremy said, really good fortune for Allied Cadillac with 2 mistakes on their last pit stop. Speeding coming in and wheel rotation whilst on the jack stands. That was 2 drive-throughs, but that has been negated now by that first full course yellow and intervention of the safety car. Now, how have things picked up where they left off in GTD Pro? Well, yes, they have. Jordan Taylor is now in the number 3 Corvette. He's got TR3's Marco Mappelli behind him, and right there now is Marco Wittmann as well for BMW. Those 3 battling through traffic as they come out of turn 17 and to the line.
And for those of you not familiar with the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, there's a lot of fans here this weekend. Many of you have been here before, but some of you haven't. This is the first full course caution of the day. We talked about the fact that pits were closed until everybody packs up behind the safety car. And then when everybody, first of all, the prototype cars are given an opportunity to make a pit stop. If those that do not make a pit stop, however, with their respective classes, when they stay out, when the other cars that come in, they're going to get back onto the lead lap if they do not come in to the pits at the same time. They can then run around to the back of the pack, take up their positions, and be back on the lead lap if you're one lap down, back on the lead lap with your relative class leaders. In LMP2 this time, the number 29 car that was leading did not come into the pit lane. So that did not enable any of the other cars, apart from the basically didn't allow any of the other cars to get an opportunity to get one of their laps back. In GTD, however, quite a few cars did not pit and then got their back on the lead lap. So we've now got a whole lot of cars in GTD that are all on the same lap. We've got about 18, 19 cars on the lead lap now in GTD. We've got the 4 Pro cars out the front. That's the Corvette of Jordan Taylor, Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini, the BMW of Marco Wittmann, the Lexus of Ben Barnicat. So 4 different cars in the top 4, all back on the lead lap. And we've got effectively a new race breaking out here. In LMP3, the number 30 and the number 33 have both managed to regain the lead lap with everybody else. So that has made now a 5 car. There were only 3 cars that had not been lapped by the overall race leader. There are now 5 cars on the lead lap in LMP3, led by Kai van Berlo in car number 74.
So that's a Junior 3 Racing is the 30, and the Sean Creech Motorsport, that's the red, white, blue, the Stars and Stripes car. Lance Wilsley had a couple of spins early on, but that's the João Barbosa car as well, the Portuguese Gould driver, the highly experienced pilot there. So Sean Creech, in fact, going down the inside of the AWA car there, down towards turn 17, turn 7, excuse me. It is João Barbosa behind the wheel of the Sean Creech Motorsport car. So expect to see that car moving very quickly indeed. Now, something else that happened during that pit stop cycle was that the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus, well, now it's got Ben Barnico on board, running 4th in GTD Pro, but it's also got the wrap from the bonnet that was flapping around. That's been torn away. That did have the red number 14 on it as well, which now is missing. Still has its numbers on the side, so that's fine. But if you are watching on the world feed or trackside, that car has no number now on the engine cover in front of the driver. Stoffel van Doorn, 2.2 seconds back in the number 16 Meershank Racing, the pink and multicolored car. 2 seconds back from the leader, but only half a second ahead of the car that is chasing him down, and that is the number 5 of Richard Westbrook, the Cadillac. JDC Miller Motorsports entered. It's the Mustang sampling car. Of course, all these cars were put line astern behind the safety car. Also going nicely at the moment, Will Stevens in the number 10. He's
yeah, just lost a place at the restart, though, yes. Stevens, to Richard Westbrook in that car number 5.
Westy's flying.
He is absolutely flying. He has actually set the fastest lap of the race, did on lap 78, 96 laps now in the books. And we heard Tristan Vautier tell us a little while ago, didn't we, that they struggled in the first stint because they had to run those flat-spotted tyres from the crash, after the crash in qualifying. But since then, the car has been exactly where they needed to be. And last year, that team had a magnificent victory, having been involved in an accident during the race, various incidents during the race, coming back and winning it despite a rear wing failure in the late stages. And right now, that team is running very, very quickly. It's Richard Westbrook who's joined that team for full season effort alongside Tristan Vautier, and joined for the long distance races by Loic Duval as well.
That is an awesome lineup, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of many really eye-catching lineups that we have in IMSA again this year. We said it at Daytona, but the strength and depth of driving talent and teams in IMSA this year is the best for many years. I know. I know what you're saying. We've said that before, but it really is true. They just keep clicking it up another notch. People want to come racing in IMSA. Yesterday, Jackie Chan, DC Racing, have decided to go back to top-class sports car racing. Where have they chosen? They've won in LMP2 and LMP3 in Asia, in Europe. They're coming back to IMSA. David Chan raced over here, of course, and bringing the team back. And yesterday, in the press room, saying that whilst they haven't made their decision on what category, he's drawn by GTP next year. He wants to have that team in the top category next year.
Yeah,
great stuff.
It really is. Good look here, and we were on board a little while ago with Will Stevens at the wheel of the Konica Minolta Cadillac. He's dropping back. He's lost another position to Earl Bamber on the last lap, and struggled a little bit at Daytona, did Will Stevens. But look, again, this is very, very early stages in the race. We've still got, we're only three and a quarter hours into the race. So, plenty of time to go, and you don't want to overextend yourself at this stage, certainly. But neither do you want to be losing track position. And he's lost a couple of positions since the restart, but settling in now in 5th position ahead of Kamui Kobayashi. We'll see how long that stays.
Hello to Gareth Evans, who's out with the dog, but listening with the earbuds down at the borehole for a pint and an ice cream. Well, you've got to take the dog out, haven't you? I mean, that's just one thing that has to be done. The big W for the dog. And listening into us, I presume that's in the UK somewhere, Gareth. Nice to know that you are tuned in on RS2 IMSA Radio, Sirius XM 206, and around this region on Highland's Best Country, WWOJ 99.1. News Talk 7:30 AM, and now on 95.3 FM as well. If you are in a territory that does not have TV coverage, go to imsaradio.com and click the live video feed for the World TV feed with the IMSA radio call. 8 3/4 hours to go. Chevy Corvette leading, 20th position overall, leading GTD Pro, Mapelli and Wittmann in the Lamborghini and the BMW right there. Ben Barnicoat just a couple of seconds further back. Now having to work through some slower traffic, some bigger traffic. The BMW M4 dwarfing Sean Creech Motorsport through turn 1 as the LMP3 car goes round the outside, courtesy of more aerodynamic downforce, and being followed through that LMP3 by the Junior 3 Racing Ligier of Dakota Dickerson. Oh no, that's not that car. What is that? Yellow and...
Which one's that, John? Sorry?
Who's that in behind Sean Creech Motorsport, the yellow and black car? I thought it was the next car.
The AWA car?
Yeah, it is the AWA car. Yes, I thought it is. There must be a lap down, are they?
Yeah, they're a couple of laps down. A couple of instances earlier on, wasn't there, Ferrari Fidani?
Of course, that's right.
But they've got that AW car back again, and the number 40 of Todd Archer, that's the Fast MD Duquesne, that's also a couple of laps down, and just, well, maybe actually 20 seconds or more behind Lars Kern.
So $1 in the jar for Shea earlier on, and $1 in the jar for Jeremy. Konica Minolta Acura.
Did I say it again?
Yes. Hey, get the round in later on.
Absolutely right.
Don't worry, even Shea did it this
in
week.
2 years.
Yeah, I know. Right, reset, but cracking on. Hello to Andrew Fawcett, working on his MX-5 in the garage. Very nice shade of bright red. It's an NA, one of the... no, it's an NB, excuse me. One of the early cars. Looking absolutely fabulous with that little smiley face. Always reminds me of Lightning McQueen. Good looking car, that, Andrew. Starting to get to the weather to get that one out as well. Hope you never put the hood up on it. Wish you the best of motoring with your MX-5. MX-5, Idemitsu MX-5 Challenge back in a couple of months' time, actually. Don't get them back on the IMSA schedule until mid-Ohio. which is a pretty long gap for them, but probably means that my heart rate will have come down to a reasonable level before Shea and I call those races again. Might as well put me on a treadmill for 35, 40 minutes and keep turning up the wick. It's action and excitement all the way through. If you don't believe me, go on to the MX5.
What happened to Van Dorn? Lost a couple of positions.
Stoffel
on that last lap. Got shuffled. Stoffel got shuffled from second to fourth in the accurate number 60.
Richard Westbrook and Earl Bamber going through in respectively the Cadillacs of JDC and Cadillac Racing.
Yeah, I think it was a fairly big knot of traffic. I think they probably had to work their way through because the race leader, Mike Conway, 152.6 for him. He'd been doing 47s and 48s with clear track after that restart. No more clear track for a little while, though, for the Englishman.
Yeah, you get what was, I think that was probably 3 laps, wasn't it, they got? Just about 3 laps.
Actually more than that, actually. Yeah, it's 4 or 5,
okay,
actually.
Okay, 5. Yeah. All right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, be pretty happy with that. Take advantage of it while you can. You could look there at number 57, Winwood Racing Mercedes, running an excellent second place in the class. They had an incident on Thursday, an ABS failure, well, a braking system failure, put that car into the fence at turn 3. They missed a session, I think, as a result of that, but the car running well now. It's Marvin Dienst, the German, at the wheel of that car, joining Russell Ward and Phil Ellis, and he's been at the wheel for that car for quite a while now in this race and doing a really fine job in second position. He's another youngster who started off in oak-wheel racing in his native Germany, then switched across to GT cars 5 or 6 years ago now.
Warning for the number, was the 63? Yes, it was. The 63 Marco Bappelli.
Second place.
Second place in GTD Pro. They've been coming together with the AWA car. The number 30, the black and 1-3, the black and yellow. Lars Kern, Kuno Whitmer and Ori Fedari, Duquesne LMP3.
Oh, is that why we saw the number 13 car
drop back again up from the group. So just a warning for that bright green TR3 car, which is just split away from the Corvette for a moment as the leaders go through, and Richard Westbrook is doing a cracking job through traffic. He's almost there. No, he is there now with no cars between himself and the red and white number 31 of Mike Conway.
And they've just put another lap on all of the GTD cars.
The 0-2, Earl Bamber finding to get on terms with them as well. He just goes by the Corvette of Jordan Taylor. So the top 3 on the Ullman Straight together as they go past that AWA car we were talking about, the black and yellow car, into turn 17. Distinctively different lines from Conway and Westbrook, but they get to the same point at the middle and the exit of the corner. Cross the line now. And here comes Bamber. He gets to the inside at turn 1 of that number 13 AWA LMP3 car. So that one has dropped down a wee bit, and that is Lars Kern behind the wheel of that car. Pit stop at the front of the LMP2 class. Is that Scott Huffaker coming in?
No, it's Guido van der Garde in the Racing Team Netherlands car. That is the car that elected not to make a pit stop during that caution period. I think in order to try and make sure the other cars in that, several other cars in that class, particularly number 11 and number 20, did not have an opportunity to get back onto the lead lap because they had been a lap down before that. So now they're going to make a pit stop. The good news is that they're certainly going to lose a fair bit of ground to the number, in particular number 52, which will take the lead of the class now in LMP2 for PR1 Matheson Motorsports, who won the last I think it's 3 races here at Sebring. Had a huge amount of success, well, in LMP2 in general. Number 52 car is a 2-time defending champion here at Sebring International Raceway.
That was, with the yellows, an immense 41 lap stint before that car came into the pit lane. And Guido van der Garde rejoins in the Racing Team Nederland number 29, the Jumbo car. Call it Jumbo or Jumbo, so long as you talk about it, that's all Frits van der cares about. The lap's coming thick and fast at the moment. 150.5, 148.7. I thought that was a decent looking lap for Mike Conway, even through traffic there. That's only a second off that car's best lap of the race. And in fact, the best lap of the race for the number 02 Cadillac Racing. Cadillac DPI, Earl Bamber with a 47.849. Took a second out of the lead car now. In the top 3, Jeremy, within a second and a half.
Yeah, they are, and they pulled away a little bit from Stoffel van Doorn. This is his first race into course in IMSA competition, so he'll be anxious to make sure that it's a nice clean stint. Long way to go. Just, oops, there's a spin there for the number 66 car. That's Kiffin Simpson, the young...
Exit 17, dangerous spot, Jeremy.
Yeah, young Cayman Islander there off the road. That car was
Let's
running
just see if we go
6th place in class.
See if we go yellow. No, he's got it back underway. Let's go down to Racing Team Nederland. There's a bit of damage on the 66 Gradient car, and that will have to come in next time around. But Joe is down with the man of the moment, Frits van Aert.
Guido has just pitted the car, Frits, and we noticed that you guys pitted or didn't take advantage of the yellow period and have pitted under green there.
Yeah, that's just the way the tactics we think will work out the best for us. So far, so good. One more stint for Guido, and then I'm going to go back in the car for a double stint, so I think we're doing fine now.
So not being dragged into anything, you're sticking with the plan, and that was always the plan.
Exactly. It's 8 hours something to go, so it's still a long way, and I think we're doing fine so far.
It's perhaps at this stage of the race that you go into these long races at the start with a lot of questions to be answered. Have you had any questions answered at this stage, almost a third in?
No, nothing to be really. It's always the start. It's always an exciting moment. Everybody wants to gain something, but after all, I think we did fine, and we find the pace. And as far as you can see now, everything's working out well.
Fritz, I mean, over the last few years, we've got to know you. We know how passionate you are about motorsport, and especially representing the Netherlands and Dutch motorsport on a massive high at the moment. Where did that passion derive from?
Oh, the passion, I think I'm born with it. It's I really don't know. I'm so hooked in car racing, and it works out so well. We got so much talent in Holland, and we started supporting them a long time ago. And Max Verstappen, of course, world champion. Nick de Vries, world champion. Racing Team Netherlands is doing a great job. There's so much fun. So many fans we have in Holland right now. And hopefully we can keep it that way. So we're happy to be here, happy to be in this position, but still a long time to go. And hopefully I can call my wife in 8 hours. Say, okay, we did a good job.
What form of racing did you first become aware of when you were a kid?
Oh, in 1985 I went to the Zandvoort Grand Prix, and I was 18 years old. And from that day on, I was lost, and I still didn't find it back. So it was, the smell, the sound, the cars, the drivers, everything, and I could never stop thinking about it.
Thanks, Fritz. Always a pleasure. I share the same passion. I've always said that if it's not the sort of addiction you can get therapy for, is it? It just stays with you forever.
No, it's not an addiction. It's a way of life.
Absolutely. Well said.
It's a sickness, isn't it? It really is. I'm afraid that the Gradient car's not been able to come back under its own steam after the crash by its driver.
Stopped right in the middle of the Jean Dubin curves.
Kiffin Simpson, yes. He was driving quite quickly and shredding bits of the car, and then the car came to a halt, and there's all kinds of people having to go either side. There was a bit of overtaking under yellow there as well, which may or may not be forgiven, given where that car was. But
as long as they redress it, it'll be fine.
Yes, I would think so, Jeremy.
But various cars taking evasive action, jumping over the curbs there.
Yeah.
On the exit of the right-hand part of that Jean de Bien S's.
And going straight into turn 16 to go down the main straight, the back straight, excuse me.
Stoffel Van Dorn was one of the cars that leapt over that curb.
Yeah, it was. You don't have a small accident at the exit of turn 17. Mark Miller calling the strategy for the guys at Gradient this weekend. Young Simpson there with a hard lesson about the bumps of turn 17 and then getting the car back. Such a balancing act to be able to work out. Right, I want to get the car back, I want to get the car back. Go too fast and you risk more damage. I think something's given up the ghost there. Great fan presence here for this huge festival of endurance racing. Sports cars and GTs to the fore this weekend. Well, this week, really. Starting off with the prologue for the WEC last weekend. There were a few fans here for that. And then from Tuesday onwards, it's been a steady influx of camping, trailers, RVs, a lot of tents as well. Must have been difficult during the weather yesterday. The infield at Sebring pretty much packed to overflowing. New parking to drivers left on the Alec Ullman straight with RVs and car parking as well. And that all filled up. Even some new bleachers around the circuits I've noticed as well. I think more of those to come to just give some more viewing points around this classic 3.7 mile circuit.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see how many improvements have been made here over the last several years at Sebring International
Without
Raceway.
Without changing the track.
Without changing the nature of the track
exactly.
at all. Yeah, absolutely right. Just improve, steady improvements. It's really cool to see. It's Wayne Estes, isn't it, who's in charge here these days? And
John Story's been doing a good job as well, and being extremely.
Everybody has.
Extremely helpful.
And everybody here is super helpful and friendly these days as well.
Really good.
Really great atmosphere around the track.
It's an ongoing project at any racetrack, but when you've got one that has the historical significance of Sebring International Raceway, first F1, first US Grand Prix here, all the endurance races down through the years, and the historical significance of this concrete that we race on for the most part. It's been a big move this year. The TV and broadcast compound moved to the outside of turn 17. The original wall has been pushed back as well, even further, which is good, because that means we're probably not going to get anybody joining us here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre.
That we don't want to be here.
Well, indeed so. We like visitors, but not if they're going to bring the car with them. We're not daft. We're at the far end of our trailer unit. Yeah, we've done that in Detroit before, where we've been staring at Indy cars coming straight towards us. It still scares the life out of me, that, even though we're surrounded by concrete.
And we're in a concrete
bunker.
Yeah, I mean the walls of that bunker are huge, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a shame for the Gradient Racing team there, because
Till Bechtolsheim did a great first stint.
Yeah,
first two stints actually.
And the car solid there in the top 5 in the class, but now of course falling a couple of laps off the pace. There is still time to make that up. We've seen several cars get back onto the lead lap. We've got, I think, in GTD now, the top 10 cars are on the lead lap. So in order they are 28, 57, 21, 96, 59, 44, 12, 32, 47 and 42. They're all on the lead lap in GTD. In GTD Pro, also on the same lap, are the top 8 cars. Number 3, 63, 24, 14, then 79 and 9, and then intermingled a bit further back, number 97. So both the WeatherTech cars are in that lead lap, and a number 93, Ashton Harrison, driving the number 93 car. That's that new tie-up between John Baracci's Racers Racers Edge Motorsport team and Wayne Taylor Racing. They're running in the pro category here this weekend.
So Joe Bradley is standing by to see who comes into the pit lane. Whelan Engineering Cadillac's been out there for, I think, 20 laps, 17 for JDC Miller Motorsports. Cadillac Racing 02, Earl Bamber 17. Also Mershank Racing with Kerb Algajanian, that's the 60 Acura, that's been out for 17, as has the Cunningham Minolta Acura ARX, the number 10 car, and the Ally Cadillac. So they've all been out roughly the same time.
4 of those were under yellow, but still, I'd be surprised if we didn't see everybody onto pit lane right now.
And that's going to put them all back on the same strategy again.
That's right, exactly right. The number 31 car needs just a little bit more fuel because that had come in immediately before the last pit stop. And all the other cars that came into the pits as well during that caution period will have just a little bit less fuel to take on board.
It's Jeremy Shaw alongside me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Good to have your company from wherever you're listening or watching.
We were over 15 minutes because we went green. I think it was 21 minutes of green flag racing there after we went back to yellow. What was the problem there for number 30 car? Had that got a wave around maybe? Maybe that was stuck behind.
Yes, I think so. Pits are open for the prototypes. So that car that Jeremy was talking about there, that was a Junior 3 racing car again. Just
Dakota Dickerson making his debut in IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, last year's prototype challenge champion, of course, with the MLT Motorsports team, and that's doing a partial season in the prototype challenge this season, and those other races he's going to be driving for Junior 3 here in the full season championship. Here we go.
Here they come, gentlemen. I've managed to keep out the way, very much out the way. I'm at the Mershank Acura pit, car number 60, just at the end of what's going to be absolute mayhem here. I think every one of our DPIs, I can see the 01 board, I can see the 02 board, the 5. In fact, everybody's coming in. So here we go. First cars peel off. The Whelan car peels off to the right. Here comes the pink and white Mershank car right in front of me now. Now, is anybody going to take advantage of this caution and have full service? I see the Cunningham Minolta car. That's the number 10. Cunningham Minolta Acura is changing driver. Mershank choosing not to change driver. And that's what I was about to say. Under yellow, you can save time by not losing road time, track time out on the track. And we're already out and underway. The Ally car is out. Oh, and it's a race off pit lane, side by side. You've probably got a better view of that now, guys, as I cough through the tyre smoke. I'm not going to complain, though.
They've had to pause, Joe, because the rest of the field hasn't gone through, but it will be when the light goes green. Mike Conway, who goes back out in the 31 Whelan Engineering Cadillac ahead of Loic Duval for JDC Miller Motorsports and Earl Bamber for Cadillac Racing. 31.5 and 02, with Stoffel Van Dorn in the MSR number 60 Acura out in 4th position and Philippe Albuquerque in 6th. Then it's Kamui Kobayashi. But they turned those cars around so quickly, Jeremy, that the rest of the field had not gone through. Meantime, 74, Riley LMP3, the 74 Ranch Resort, they look like they're doing brake pads on the front of that car. Certainly messing around with the calipers there. They haven't got the spreaders there, so I'm not sure what was going on there, but there was some work going on the left front caliper on that bright orange and blue 74 Ranch Resorts Riley LMP3. That was the pole sitting car, and they're taking the opportunity to go through a few little jobs on that car because the fueling hose was not attached, so that car losing a little bit of time, but of course under the safety car they will be able to catch that back up before we go back green. So not a bad idea to do those niggly little jobs that perhaps the drivers have been complaining about in the first 3 hours and 40 minutes as we've had so far. Just 10 minutes before 2 o'clock local time. Thanks for joining us.
I don't think we'll see many takers. Will we? We've got about 8 or 9 laps, so yeah, a third of the way, not even a third of the way through the stint for GTD. Be interesting to see who comes in and who doesn't.
Corvette and TR3. In fact, the top 4: Corvette Racing's number 3, TR3 Racing, Lamborghini number 63, 24 BMW, and Vassar Sullivan's Lexus. All 16 laps into the stint.
Everybody
came in the last
exactly.
yellow.
Yeah. Well, actually, yes, indeed.
And all of those teams, I'm told by Shea, are up on the wall. So
okay. Right.
Maybe they will.
If you're a third of the way in, that's kind of give yourself a longer window to come in afterwards.
Yeah, Corvette is leading them to the right-hand side of the track. Only one BMW left in contention. Remember, the 25 car had power steering problems earlier.
The GTD regular leader did not come in.
That's
so that was the Allegra. Yeah, that stays out.
Joe Bradley, go ahead.
I'm in Risi Ferrari pit and they're waiting for the 62. And also, just look to my right, the number 14 Lexus, that pulls in for what looks like fuel and tyres. Here comes the other Lexus, that's in the other class, of course, the GT Daytona class for the number 12, the number 14 is part of our GT Daytona Pro classification.
Fuel and tires for the number 3 Corvette, Jordan Taylor staying aboard. Fuel and tires for the 63 Lamborghini as well. Fuel and tires for the 24 BMW. No driver change there. It was a driver change for the 79 Porsche. Cooper McNeil is now driving that car as the Mercedes that he started leads. It's pit box right behind him. And
Lexus nearly ran into the back of the TR3 Lamborghini. That, I think, was the number 12 car. All right, so that was the 14 car. Thank you, Shea, because the red light again was on at the end of the pit lane. 12 still in the box. Problem with the left rear of that car. Joe Bradley.
It gets going, and a ball of wheel smoke, and I'm all for this wheel spinning off the pit apron. We're still waiting for the 62. Hang on, guys. There's one. The only negative of wheel spinning off the pit apron is I'm in a cloud of smoke. We're still waiting for the 62 Risi Ferrari. Right, okay. So it's going to get its lap back and then come in now and quickly pit.
It'll get one lap back. Remember, that car was behind the wall for power steering problems earlier on, so they will have stayed out and they'll come back around. Always worth taking a lap back if you can, no matter how far down you are. And that Risi Competizione number 62 is some 6 laps away from Jordan Taylor. So you get one back here. That team will get one back 8-5. Now that sounds like it's a bit pedantic, isn't it, really? Why would we bother doing that? Well, another few safety cars. We've seen people come back from, what, three laps down before, certainly. Ollie Jarvis won the last race of last year from 3 laps down.
Yep.
And there's a great stat, which I'm not going to mention right now, for Ollie Jarvis, if he gets the result he wants today. But I'm not going to mention it at the moment. Okay. He's had 3 wins in a row in 2 different series in his last 3 outings. 2 in IMSA and 1 in the WAC. Class win in WAC yesterday for United Autosport. But there's a potentially unique opportunity for Oliver Jarvis at the end of this race. I'm not going to jinx it, as I say, so we'll leave that to one side. At IMSA Radio, I bet you know it.
Try and remember not to mention that one.
No, well, if you mention it, that's fine. Because if you mention it and it goes horribly wrong, he's only got you to blame. I'm not having Chelsea and him blaming me. I'm not getting on the wrong side of Chelsea Jarvis.
Fair comment.
Number 12 has lost the left rear wheel. They were having a problem with that left rear wheel going back on. This is the Lexus RCF. And they haven't got that on the drive pegs. This is the GTD car with the green number backgrounds.
Yeah.
They were struggling with that. It took a little bit more time than they would have liked to. That was right in front of you, Joe, wasn't it, before they pulled out in that huge amount of tyre smoke, and it looks like they haven't got the wheel on. It's gone completely.
I'm not sure about not getting the wheel on completely. The car has now left the pit apron.
No, it's three-wheeling around the circuit, Joe. They'll be coming back to you in a moment. I'll let you know when it's in the pit lane. 8 hours and 15 minutes to go. So the Sailmaster car dragging the back of it across the ground. That's going to sound horrible in the car. However, these cars are so stiff, you can almost get away with this. It's not quite the old Citroen hydropneumatic suspension. One of our safety team.
Fine time to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, loose wheel, yes, very good.
Got to bring the old ones in.
The AMR safety team have already picked that up, that wheel and tyre, and it'll be coming back to the pits, but not as it should do, i.e. attached to the Lexus number 12. And they'll be able to come back in and put another wheel on. But again, that was the wheel they were struggling with. So they might want to have a look at the hub there. It might have just been the simple thing of not getting it on the pegs. There are locating studs there. Single wheel nut, lug nut. And finally, the racing competition car has come in, Joe Bradley, so they have got one of their laps back.
Yeah, this is what I love about the IMSA regulations and the safety car. It gives you a chance. If you have a nightmare at the early part of the race, you can then get it back with some really clever tactics. And this is what we're seeing right now with the 62 Ferrari. I still love that Pennzoil livery on that car. Really is very retro. That car now full-service driver tyres and fuel, of course, going in. And as I say that, here's the three-wheeler Lexus who scrapes into his pit box. Now the team go to work. They get it up on the jacks. They've replaced the left front tyre as well. Now inspection going on the rear left. And they're looking at that rear hub, John, just as you mentioned there. It could be an issue. But they're going for it. Yeah, they're putting the wheel on. In comes a new nut, of course. Now, whether or not it'll sit on the pegs, yeah, it looks like it has now. Nut going on, so that car should be fine now.
Mark Miller, not only team managing Gradient, finds the time to let us know what was wrong with that Acura. He said that it wasn't that Kiffin chose to stop at that point on the track. They completely lost power. Oof.
Sure, yeah, it's not a place he would stop voluntarily, that's for sure, in the middle of the Jean de Pian curves. But again, unfortunate because everything was right on track there for that team. And is the car back out again? No, it's still not. It's still not back out onto the racetrack. So we're falling further behind now. It's now 6 laps behind everybody else. Looks like we're going to be going. We're not going to go green this time, by.
I think in
perhaps, next.
In the words of the great Antarctic explorer, it may be some time before that one comes back. Jeremy?
Yes.
At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us. I looked at Gareth. Back for the rest of the race, he said. I'll be wandering around to the chip shop for a little while.
That's a good idea.
Very good, yeah. Chippy tea. One more lap under green, I think. One more lap under yellow, excuse me. So have we got everybody lined up behind the safety car? Yes, we have. Mike Conway will have to come back to the green flag just before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going back to green very shortly here at Sebring for the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advance Auto Parts. 10 minutes then before